It's like, and it sounds really good though.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want, you can always take an extended lavalier, little lav mic, and hook it into it.
Yeah.
Run it up to your shirt, so you've got, or in front of the shirt or under a jacket.
Dude, people, I think Wonderboy does that.
Yeah,
because he has like a YouTube channel where he's running around with the kids and stuff, and he has like a live mic on.
It's not expensive in the it is expensive. And the box is as big as that little box right there.
Yeah.
And it's got 2 mics and a central unit, and you just take this central unit, plug it into your phone.
Yeah.
If you want, unless you're just wanting isolated audio. But if you guys were to go interview somebody at a fight, you can just stick that on their shirt. Boom. You can do a little sound check in the. It'll give you levels on the central unit.
Oh, sick.
I mean, is it amazing? Not necessarily, but
it gets the job done.
Be cool. It would be cool to do the road podcast with those.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So we do like this
so
King of the Road thing. So like we'll travel to like a stand-up show or concert or something, and we'll record it literally while we're driving.
It's not the safest thing to do.
Yeah,
definitely not.
Because like before we've had to have laptop on the Why are we forgetting what the lap is? Laptop.
Yeah.
Laptop. That's a rough word.
Laptop on the lap.
Dude, and then we would just, like, I'd be holding while I'm driving with one, because he can't hold and do the computer.
Sure.
I mean, you don't need to do much, but, it was kind of weird.
It gets a little sketchy
But then you can't really record visuals. Also, like, who's going to want to...
dash mount, put your phone,
and
have it face back, and then stick, like, if you run the DJI system, you would stick it into the charging port functionally, and
so it has like direct power.
Yeah, and then you would just each be mic'd up. Even if you had somebody in the back seat, they could be directly mic'd up so that their audio is clear rather than you're hearing AC or you're hearing now, unless AC's blowing right on their shirt or right on the microphone, which you would just have to check that.
We just traveled during the winter. Like, dude, it run hot. Like, you'll notice in here, like, it feels good right now. Probably it's gonna get cooking in here.
20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah, with us talking, the TV, the oil burner.
That TV puts off about 900 degrees.
It's probably watts or something. I don't know. It's like a lot of thermal
it's older
activity.
Too. It's like fucking.
Well, have you thought about turning it off during your podcast since it's not relevant?
But you got cops on too, bro. I'm gonna start sweating.
It's just nice. It's all right. So in studio today we got Mac, owner of Atlas.
Sure.
Do you have a last name, or you just go
my
by
name is
Mac?
Brannon Remaklus. Most people at the gym know me as Mac, Coach Mac.
Okay.
But yeah, I own Atlas Martial Arts over in Crest, Vegas.
And then with you today is
Clay Witt.
All right, and up and coming fighter from the area.
Yes, sir.
Y'all stay out of Crestview.
Yeah.
Or y'all fight all over, correct?
Yeah. I live in Pensacola actually, but yeah.
Really?
Train out of there mainly. Mm-hmm.
That's
a fucking
that's
a drive. Though.
It is, man. It is. I live downtown.
Really?
Golly.
What got you
You're making this
over?
harder and harder, huh?
Yeah. What got you over training over there, like that far, or did you guys originate over here and go there?
No. I started when I first moved here. My dad was military, so we moved all over. Mm-hmm. I was with Capital in Fort Walton for a long time.
Okay, I know Capital, Daniel.
And they're like sister gyms, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, Daniel runs. We're completely affiliated. Daniel runs the jiu-jitsu classes Tuesday, Thursday at my gym. I talked to him back in 2010, and I was like, "Hey, come coach jiu-jitsu at my gym." I was just a loser karate guy who opened a gym, and he's like, "No." So I was like, "Come on, man, come." And no. So then I signed up at their gym and started training. Then they just kept "Hey, come coach jiu-jitsu," because I wanted jiu-jitsu out of my gym.
Yeah.
And that was 2010, and then he started in March 2011. And that's where we met. Go ahead, sorry.
That's also who you met your wife, right?
Right.
You're just persistent.
Yeah, exactly.
But no. I fought with Capital for a long time. And then a lot of guys started kind of moving away. I went through the Fire Academy, and I took like probably 2.5 years off fighting and training really in general. Then I got married, moved out to Pensacola. And one of the main people I was training with at Capital at the time, Steve Burks, started coaching for him. So I was like, oh shit, well, I'm just going to go see what Steve's doing. Yeah. I get out there, I see the coaches, him primarily, and Coach Oscar, our boxing coach. And I was like, bro, this is the place. Like, I don't care how far I got to travel. This is, if I'm going to be serious about it, this is the place I got to go. So from then on, that was it, yeah.
There's a lot of stories, and like, at least with my experience with training is typically, or at least for the first 6 years of my training, I travel at least an hour for training.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like, I don't know, like, you hear, like, the Blue Basement and Gordon and all them up in New York when that was popping, like, they would travel, like, 2.5 hours due to traffic and stuff. Like, maybe it was a lot shorter, but traffic made it crazy. It's crazy to the extent that you'll go to to get good training.
Mm-hmm.
That's with anything. If you want something, you're gonna.
Yeah.
You know, people always have a. Well, I don't know. We're just with whatever. It doesn't matter what the skill set is. Doesn't matter what the hobby is. It's there's always a facet of, well, I don't have time, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. But then you find people who, no, I'm doing this. You know, and that's anything that's success related. It's you make a decision that you're going to do something, and then you do it. There's no. That's it. You know.
Yeah. You don't even notice it either. Like.
No, I enjoy the drive. It's kind of peaceful. You know, clear my
It
head.
is.
Yeah.
It is nice. Like I just went and trained at Panacea last night. And I haven't been out there in a minute. And getting there, I was like in a rush. And I was like, man, I don't miss this. But then I got to the country roads and it was just like a straight shot. And I was like, this is actually pretty nice. The sunset was going down. Yeah. I was like, this is gorgeous.
Driving out there for culinary school, when I was going to culinary school, I'd have to get up early as fucking. And I was working in a restaurant. So I was like used to getting up like afternoon time and going in at like noon. You know what I mean? So I could sleep in or whatnot and like catch myself up and whatnot. But then I was going over there like 7 in the morning, and I was like, dude, this fucking sucks. Like the first couple weeks, I was like, this sucks, man. Why am I doing this? And then towards the end of it, I was like, this is actually not like getting up in the morning, riding with the windows down, like over through the country road type thing. It was like meditative almost.
I like
Super
Pensacola
nice.
and like the hustle and bustle of it, and then you get out on the roads and you're like, man, I'm a country boy.
I'm
You're only out there for like
an
an hour, and you're like, well, the country, like I don't know, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
You're training with Derek and them right now, aren't you?
Yes.
Because I don't know him. I remember one of us followed the other business-wise when he was at some Krav Maga school or something out here. I think he was coaching part-time out of someone else's gym, I think.
Maybe Deepwater.
Deepwater.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember seeing it saying, oh, what is this? Oh, it's Krav Maga. Okay. Jiu-Jitsu guy. That's cool. How do you like training with them?
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they're so personable, and their game is tailored to where they have to have more advantageous positions off of less advantage due to their size. Like
sure.
Everyone they ever meet basically is bigger than them.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they have to figure out that. And rolling with him, he doesn't, like, yeah, his body type feels small, but, like, he teaches big, if that makes sense. Like, he feels all over the place when you're rolling with him.
Yeah.
And his technique is really crisp.
It's insane, dude.
Little guys are good to learn from. They can't, there's no slop. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know,
They
we
can't
joke
muscle
about
you
Coleman, but like everybody thinks he's a good fighter. I mean, he sucks. He's just big. You know, like, Coleman, you hear me? No, but I mean, it's you know, like I'm big. You know, I'm 6'4" right now. I'm 268. So there's a lot of slop. Let's say striking, jiu-jitsu, whatever it is. And I'm not training a lot lately, but when I am, like when you're a big guy, you can get away with nonsense. When you're a little guy, there's no nonsense. You can't get away with anything.
Yeah.
So you take a little guy like that, he's got to be technical. Otherwise, his life's just going to be miserable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a tough world to be in. You know, but it's a good guy to learn from because he can't cheat. There's no cheating. You know, big guys, we can cheat. You just lay on somebody. You know, little guy, there's no laying because you just get picked up. Like, bro, would you please get off of me? And then you just set him off of you. You know,
it feels like when you roll with a bigger guy too, like you're more on the attack all the time because you're like, dude, I can't get stuck underneath him.
Right. Oh,
and
for sure.
If he passes a guard or if I'm stuck and I don't have some sort of lever, like I'm going to be down here for a minute and it's going to be like everything I can just to breathe. I remember I took like 3 months off like way back when and I was rolling with my buddy Drayton and he got on top and he was a bigger kid and I was like, surely I'm not. And then he got into the position, and I was like, I'm about to tap the pressure. Just he was not even doing anything. He was just on top of me, and I couldn't move my face. He mother milked me. Like, I just couldn't breathe, and my face was stuck right between his chest. And I was just like, I really just tapped, and I said to myself, I was like, I cannot let that happen again.
Yeah.
It's hard not to. We got a big dude who does our MMA, and he's 300-something pounds.
Yeah.
And striking with him, you know, I'm a bigger guy, but I fight smaller because of my karate background, so a lot of movement. And when you fight him, I mean, it's just like you can't let him touch you because if you just die. There's no like middle ground. Now, given he has a lot of control, so I say that half jokingly, but you know, when a dude's big, it's not fun.
He's like Baywatch big, like ripped.
He's not ripped, but
like
he's just a solid.
He's like a football player.
Corn-fed.
And he's 42. You know, and he's raised sons, and we're trying to get him to. He was supposed to fight. Sammy Collingwood was going to have a little show in Crestview.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, this is perfect. It's in town. You know, we were going to have a couple people do it. but he ended up canceling the show. And so now we may try to rematch him for Island Fights end of April. If we can find, he's 42. He wants to find, an older dude. Just trying to get it. He wants to do a boxing match and just do, because knees, MMA. Now he trains all the time, but heavy leg, like you take Kyle from Trey's gym. Like those leg kicks are coming in hot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, and if you've got any sort of issues in your knees, you eat a couple of those and you're like, okay, now I got to get surgery. So yeah, exactly. For him, it's not worth it because he needs to, he's got a family, he's got to work.
He's got a new baby too.
Yeah, he's got a new baby.
Jesus Christ.
He got a vasectomy and then got a new baby.
In that order?
Yes.
That order.
Yeah, he's like,
hey, Doc.
Yeah, right.
What's up with that?
You better be co-parenting with us.
For real, though.
Right?
Paying child support, dog.
Yeah, well, he's 42. He's got 2 boys that are...
his next youngest kid is like my age. And then...
No. He's got he has a daughter that's like 15.
No, either way, like close to out of
Dude,
the
you
house.
know what's wild is my sister is 33, 34, and they found out her mom was pregnant, and at the time my sister was like 25, 26. That big of an age gap difference.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the mom thought she was retired. Like, she probably
Sure.
ain't nothing going on.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
good?
Yeah.
You're good.
Sure. That's rough. We had a big baby boom at the gym because it was right when COVID started. I had my first kid, and then I had another one 14 months. Thank you. 14 months later, had one, and then Steve, because I had 2 boys. Steve Burks is one of the coaches at my gym. A pro fighter. He fought here for a long time, but he had 3 girls, and he's like, man, we're gonna try again. They wanted to try again to have a boy. And they waited until the day of birth, to gender reveal. 4
Another
girls.
girl?
Man, his heart was. Now he's obviously a girl dad. He loves it, but his heart sank. And then it was funny though because he started having babies, and then he started having babies, and then even the boxing coach started having babies. It was like once I had one, everybody was just like, "Let's go, give us another round."
What is the ratio of girls to boys for all the babies? Because they say alpha males for whatever reason have girls. I don't know if that's a
Don't
myth.
say that. Just stop.
Just,
That's what Steve says.
Really?
Yeah,
I've heard that.
Because it makes him feel better.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go.
Well, he has a boy. Mm-hmm. I've got 2 boys. Oscar just had a girl. He has a boy. We has a daughter, then a son, then a daughter. But yeah, don't tell them. Can we edit? Can you edit that out? Stop with that nonsense.
I wonder if that's just somebody put that out there one day, and it's just one of those.
Yeah, they felt bad about having a bunch of girls, and they're like,
"But
only
I'm an
the alpha dudes.
I can't make men, so I must be an alpha.
how would they test that?
I can't
I don't even know.
Testosterone levels? Or...
Yeah,
something.
could you test alpha levels? Not even test, because somebody could be high in test and just be an introvert and just be quiet.
Yeah.
You could just rip something.
Yeah.
Some of the world's strongest men are just quiet people.
Are you correlating alpha status with testosterone and muscle?
That's what I'm saying. You can't, right? Because alpha is the way you walk and move and talk.
Yeah.
And
It's
act.
the presence.
Is that what you would set the definitional parameters around the word alpha? So you take Elon Musk, the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
He could buy all of us 1 million times over.
Yeah.
Would we say he's the alpha,
Nope.
or
I don't think so.
is
like a
the
crab.
or
He's
is the
dating an alpha.
Like a crab, dude.
but you have to look at the species and what makes you successful as a male. Well, he is the most successful male. He can have any woman he wants. So from a reproductive standpoint, he is a hyper alpha. So far above us that there's no woman that would not leave us for him. I'm
That's
sure if he
not
called my
true.
wife and hey, listen, my name's Elon Musk, and you're with that big goofy bald dude who has no money. Would you like to come be very, very rich? And she would leave.
I don't know.
Mallory,
I don't know about that. Look,
Well, do you understand the point I'm making?
I understand what you're
So
saying.
that we are a
An
complex
alpha in a
species.
sense.
So to be so literal and direct about, well, hey, he's got muscles and he can, but he can't maintain friendships. He can't maintain relationships. He's not successful at the job site. He's not monetarily successful. Is that an alpha?
But I
Well,
feel
not
like
necessarily.
That's alpha material wise. I feel like an alpha would be somebody like
Well, if you're
Chris Farley. He was an alpha.
Chris Farley.
When he took into a room, everybody was like, "What's he doing?" Dave Chappelle
but
right
is
now,
that-
kind of an alpha.
Oh, I would agree.
Everybody
That's
looks
what I'm
at him,
saying.
but not because of money. Everybody looks at him Like, yeah.
Well,
I would say
speak
Dave Chappelle more than Chris Farley. Like, Dave Chappelle's really got his shit together. Like, Chris Farley, like, I mean, he overdosed. He clearly had some problems going on.
Yes, but, like, I feel like an alpha is, like, somebody who takes the attention of the room.
Well, you're talking about competence.
Okay.
Men pay attention to competence. A
Oprah
competent
an alpha?
male is somebody that we're going to watch, muscular or not. So you take Dave Chappelle. I mean, he's gotten more muscular, but when he was a scrawny little nothing, people still paid attention because he was so competent as a male. And that's what I'm saying is Elon Musk is like the highest level of competence that you can be. So that would place him above some dude who's on the juice and benching 400 and looking good and whatever. And Elon's like, yeah, well, I just bought the gym that you work out in, and I demolished it.
Hold up.
And
What about Jocko Willink? We can all agree on Jocko,
well, of course,
right?
though.
Yeah.
But that's what we're saying,
That's
though,
like
is
the
he's
epitome,
competent, though,
right?
because he's successful monetarily, he's successful in his personal life, he's successful in his professional life, he's in shape. He's all of the pieces, but I would still argue Elon's above him. Because what can Jocko do to Elon that Elon can't do to Jocko?
Jocko can
is
knock
it
him
even
out.
about what they can do to each other?
Well, of course,
can
because you
choke him out.
implied that the dominance and the ability to control a room, if Jocko and Elon are in the same room, who are people paying more attention to? If Elon says something on Twitter and Jocko says something on Twitter, who has the bigger voice?
A social media website. I feel like if they're both in a room, I'm definitely listening to Jocko just
You,
because of my background.
you may, but
you're
you're a niche individual.
That's
Most
true.
people don't know who we know who he is, of course. Like that's Jocko, but
I guess it's a good
everyone knows who Elon is, and everyone knows how hyper successful he is.
I think Joe Rogan is almost to that
course.
Elon level.
Of course.
I think he's almost.
Yeah, he's
I think
gotta
he's
be.
almost
He's
past.
gotta be higher,
cemented
maybe.
in culture. He is like I don't even know a good word for it.
I think he's.
Well, we're all
top
sitting here
tier.
because of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We would
Like,
not be
he's
having a
surpassed-
discussion without Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
100%.
Like I remember I used to just listen to my dad talk to his friends and I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I never knew that could become something.
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, I mean, as a tribal species, how would we have learned everything? By listening to the elders.
Yeah.
And now what we're doing is we've outsourced our elders to some sort of digital medium, which is a fantastic way to do it because now I would never have access to a Jocko in my personal life. I would never be exposed to somebody, who's got like he just looks the part, and I would never benefit from him, Joe Rogan, any of these people without this medium. I would be relegated to whoever is local. So it might be guys like gym owners, like let's say Derek or Trey or whoever these, let's just say in our realm, these might be the guys that we end up looking up to because that's the best we have. But and they're great people, but we also have access to because of this. We can sit by the fire and listen to Joe Rogan, and that's a pretty cool thing because it lets us cheat. Now I get to listen to the best ideas that exist in the world. I don't have to just listen to the ideas that exist in my town or in my little
Like
bubble.
Ace Hardware, like
Sure.
guy thinks he figured
Yeah.
out a swing. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
might be a good idea. Yeah, it's like that is crazy. The access that people have on such a high level. I would say like even within the realm of those types of things, like even when you are hyper successful, there are still beta or alpha people there. Like anybody can do a podcast now. Some would argue that we're two alphas,
Yeah.
I mean, probably one, but we'll go with two just to make everyone feel good.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, I would say, you look at somebody like Joe Biden. Is he an alpha? I would say in no way could he be defined. And even in his prime, he was a grifter. Politics aside, let's just say, he didn't build anything on his own. He didn't do anything. And I don't care about the politics. Look at him as a man. Yeah. He wasn't achieving anything on his own. He got put into a position and then people realize, okay, I can use this guy for my agenda, whoever
Isn't
the people
that how
are.
Politics work? Like
Most
idiots.
politics. Now, I would say
There's
that
just a face, and there's people pushing that face, right?
I would say completely, but there are probably pockets of alpha. You take a guy like Dan Crenshaw. If he spends enough time in politics, will he lose a fact? Because Navy SEAL, eye patch, blah blah blah, amazing, all this cool stuff. Will he lose that the longer he's there? You know what I mean? Like, hey, you can be a stud jiu-jitsu guy. Well, if you stop training for 20 years, are you that same stud? Well, the answer is, of course not.
Yeah, good point.
So is he, now that he's in a different room, he used to be in a room of killers, now he's in a room of people that are willing to sell themselves for anything. Will that eventually, and I don't know the answer to that, of course, but speculatively, that's who he's surrounded by. What will that do to his head? And I don't know.
Because you feel like if they become successful, and like again, we're idiots when it comes to politics, but if somebody becomes successful that you feel is true to their word, then they got to be not true to their word, because how are you successful in politics telling the truth? That's not really politics.
It would be tough. It would be very tough.
It's like when bands talk about selling out. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
y'all are making tons of money.
That'd be like always telling the truth at a game of poker. You cannot tell the truth.
Yeah, no, you have to.
What you got? Damn it.
Well, since you ask.
Yeah, I am an honest guy.
Yeah. No, I legally have to tell you.
Bud.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't last very long in the World Series of Poker.
Did you ever see the movie with Ricky Gervais, The Invention of Lying?
Yes, I have. It's funny as shit.
Like, he discovered the idea of lying. Like, I think one day he sarcastically said something that wasn't true, and he realized that nobody knew that lies could be a thing. He was just like, no, I'm having a great day, but clearly like something was wrong. And she's like, oh, awesome, I'm happy you're having a good day. And he's like, what? I'm not.
What'd you say it was called?
The Invention of Lying. And then one day he went to a bank, and then he's like, can I withdraw $10,000? Surely it's in my account. And she's like, it's not, but yes. So you say it is, so yes. And he just started getting money from the bank, and then like getting unbelievably attractive women. Like, he was chasing Jennifer Garner for like the whole movie. Like, she just wasn't into him because she was like brutally honest. Like, you just don't fit my standards. You're pig nose, and like you're short, you're chubby. Like, it just wouldn't be good. But it's a great movie. I don't know if I'm selling it to you well. But.
That was fantastic. Yeah, nobody can lie. And I love how at the end of it he invents religion, which is fantastic.
He is like such a good comedic mind. Like
Oh my gosh, dude.
Crazy. Also,
is he an alpha?
Yes.
Well,
he's an alpha for the way that he presents himself. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And he's not a sellout. I feel like he wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Because he fucking calls everybody out. Y'all saw him at, what was it, the Golden Globes last year, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
He like
he just
called out Apple for using like sweatshops in China and shit. Dude got up and walked out of the room.
Do I need to put my iPhone somewhere? Hide it.
No, yeah, he's one of those dudes who just doesn't give a shit and he'll call everybody out. And I like that about him.
And can you, like, with the talk about the alpha, can you be an alpha and someone be more alpha than you? Yes. Because, for example, Chris Rock just dropped a special, and he talks about Will Smith at the very end of it.
He called him Suge Smith.
That's, like...
He called him what?
Suge Smith.
And look, he's an alpha for that because, like, you have a platform where you can't get hit back, basically, because you can just release a special. You don't have to wait for feedback. You can just throw it out there, and it's out there. Will Smith did his thing, and he just threw it out there. It's out there. That ain't going away. People are going to record that and post it on YouTube. Every time it gets taken down, it's going to get posted again. Like, so that's like his shot back. He waited a long time, but he shot back.
Is Will Smith an alpha?
I don't think so. Hey, man, have you seen the Red Table Talks?
I don't think so, man.
She's like, so I started making love to another guy, and he's like... All right.
He's like, no, that's cool.
Like, she takes him apart.
I've seen it, and I would probably just shoot her in his shoes.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, a Netflix documentary coming our way soon, right?
It's got
I mean, how is Will just not go on a murder spree?
I have a feeling that Meghan Markle's the same way with Harry.
Oof.
I don't know if you guys keep up with that
That's
at all.
That's a whole other deal. Like, she made him leave, basically, the kingdom.
Oh, yeah.
You guys haven't seen... I mean, she's...
I know the situation,
they
but
don't
I
want
don't
any
follow
attention,
it.
but they have a TV show, so, like, what's going on here?
They moved here or something, right?
I think so, right?
I have no idea where they live.
What do you mean by here? Like...
Not like Pensacola, but like the U.S.
Just America in general.
No, they came to Pensacola, Florida.
They knew how great it was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar situation, you know, but, I mean, to be fair, I mean, we've all been had by the balls by some woman, but, man, these guys took it to a whole nother level. I mean, that's you have
also,
to.
you got to wonder, like, with the Meghan and him thing, you got to wonder, he doesn't really have to do anything for money, right? And she has a background in acting, but wasn't super successful.
Yeah, she's
so, like, money really isn't an issue anymore. And I'm sure even though, like, he's cut from, like, the family, I'm sure low-key they're taking care of him and making sure that he's safe and sound. Like,
yeah, it's got to be.
Well, I would imagine he already had assets that, you know.
I think it's like the presidency. Like, you always have security for your life. You're never going to not have, what is it, the Secret Service?
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably have some, like... I don't know.
I just like that we're in here speculating about royal politics because that's our job.
I mean, it is like absolutely.
Like just some random people in Pensacola, and we're like, how we feel about the royal family is.
Yeah. Just want to put it out there.
Yeah, you just
This is for our people who don't know.
Yeah.
Hey,
right.
man, we don't know.
We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't have a fucking clue. I don't even know what y'all are talking about, to be honest. I don't know any of these people.
Recently, the hullabaloo was they whined about South Park because South Park did an episode where they're like, we want our privacy, as they go like on Oprah, and then they go and they're on the we want our privacy public tour. Because it's like that, like, hey, don't look at me. It's like a chick, like when her boobs are hanging out, she's like, hey, can you not look? Like, what? I don't even know what you're saying to me right now. Like, if you don't want me to look, like, don't have them flopping in my face.
So I have a different controversial question because I just thought about this the other day. I haven't even run it by you because I want to get your take live. So, and it's going to be you're going to be like, that was it. But how come we call, what is this? This is your back. How come we call that our back, but we don't talk about this as our front? Like when you're like, man, I hurt my back. People know what you're talking. When you say, man, I hurt my front. What? Are you okay, dude? You having a stroke? What is that? Why is that the back?
This is obviously a very important issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just because...
You don't have an initial answer, and that's the problem.
No, I'm thinking just because, like...
Think about it, though.
Anatomically...
If I came to you, I'm your friend, and I know that I'm dumb. But if I said, yo, did I hurt my front?
Yeah.
I broke my back.
No, I got you.
My
but
back?
I think anatomically, my back
is broken.
It's broken.
It's fine.
And this is your back anatomically.
No, I'm
right?
aware.
This is your chest anatomically.
Yeah, but why is it not called your front?
Because you're not talking about positionally.
But what
positionally, this is your front. This is your back.
Are we allowed to Google
yourself though?
Because
back means your back.
But what do you call this?
Your leg.
Your calf, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you don't call this your back, but this is your back. All this is your back.
So if you told me you hurt your back,
it could have been anything.
Talking about your legs, and I found out that it was your leg. I'm not fucking talking to you for a week because that's not your fucking back.
Well, if you said you hurt your front,
dude, huh?
If you said you hurt your front,
that's what I'm saying. We don't. Why not?
Well, I think it's because it's segmented too much, right? Like my front could be like my stomach.
Yeah, but
my
on
chest,
you can see every bit of you.
My
that's
neck.
Not fair. We're talking about
back, like this
people.
is all of this is just back. Like I wouldn't say like I'm not gonna be like, oh bro, my lower right back is killing me.
I think it's because it's a vanity thing why we don't say this is just our front, because we want to be like, yo, that dude's got abs. Not that dude's got a nice back. Like back is cool, but nobody's back there that much.
When did you think of this question? Is what I want to
Literally
ask.
yesterday.
What were you doing though?
I was driving and I was like, I legitimately hurt my back doing some CrossFit lifts, and I was like, I hurt my back, but
lift with that.
Now I have to explain further where on my back I hurt when I tell people. I'm like, yo, it's my lower back. They're like, oh, okay. And then someone else hurt their upper back, and I was like, but those are two different areas, but we just call it the back. Like, it's kind of like Russia. We just call Russia fucking Russia, but it's basically the entire Earth. It's huge. You could get dropped in Russia and walk for your entire life. You're never going to get out of Russia. You're there forever. It's a whole nother planet. Okay? My back, same way. It's vast, it's wide, it's muscular. Like, it's huge.
Okay. All right.
If you start walking, you're
don't listen, dude.
Off my back.
Hey, man, don't ever compare your back to Russia again.
It's
okay?
huge.
All right? Just don't.
I'm just saying.
All right.
But it doesn't make any sense to me why. I think it's vanity. That's what I came to the conclusion of, like, because everything is visually right here. Like, you're only looking at, and it's like, if it's not here, it's in the back. All right, I'm testing out this.
No, it's a super interesting theory. I think there's probably a much more simplistic answer, just like with most conspiracy theories. People are like, well, it was intentional that this and this and this and this. No, most of the time it's just people are idiots. And so all of these things happen. With this, it's probably just common usage verbs. Or there are definitive separations. I mean, most people don't know lats, traps.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody knows chest, abs. So maybe that's why.
See?
Maybe it's just common use. I don't think it's like vanity, because then it sounds like that's an intentional, like there's some guy in a tower and he's like, yes, people must refer to my chest and my abs, but everything else is back.
Also,
guy in a tower.
But you also made it weirder.
It's probably Elon's tower.
The back of your legs was your back.
Well, I'm thinking positionally, right? That's all.
Yeah, but maybe if you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're talking about like angles and shit, yeah, you could say back, but then you're going to say of leg. Not back. Get him on his back. Take his back! And then you just all of a sudden in a knee
grab
bar,
his
what the
leg.
fuck
Yeah,
are
you
you
grab
doing?
his calf. Yeah.
This is important.
It is very important.
Now I'm going to have to go home and get to the bottom of it. You could ask ChatGPT.
I feel like
That's
we
what
just
you need to
watched
start
our
doing is
friendship
keeping
fall apart
ChatGPT
too.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
yeah.
type into
It happens every
ChatGPT,
episode.
why do they call it a back, but they don't call it a front?
But I thought ChatBT or GPT.
ChatBT
I
does.
thought he or it or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm ruining the future. I thought it figures things out as far as like making things. I didn't.
Have
know
you played with it
answers
at all?
No.
So
That shit scares me.
most of a lot of the blogs you're seeing now written or articles are written by some derivative of ChatGPT or ChatGPT. You can go to it. Have you ever written anything? Okay, so no.
Not
Hey,
even
let's
once.
let's-
Hey, dude.
Not even once.
Hey man, we're in a podcast. I write some stuff.
well, let's say this
Have you
though.
ever
Let's say
written
you were to
anything?
You know how
take
to read?
well, let's say you were to take all of your articulated ideas and put them in text
My back
format.
theory.
Sure, there you go.
Okay.
But you could take this conversation, put it in text format, put it into there, and you could say, this is my tone of voice. And let's say you were to give it enough content, and then say, now, write a 5-part blog post about why a back is called a back and a front's not called a front, and it will and write it in my tone of voice, being humorous, and I need it to be, or you could say New York Times format. It'll write the article for you immediately, and it's unbelievable. It's insanely
See, that
fast.
kind of shit scares me.
Yeah, all of it
how's
scares me.
How's it? What's up with that?
Yeah.
Well,
You know what
it's.
I
I mean, you have to
It's
think.
artificial intelligence, but how do you even get that ball started?
Well, I mean, it would be progressive over time. So you learn one little thing, or you develop typewriter, and then you develop how to put input into a computer, word processor, and then I have to assume this is me talking on my ass, but
Your ass talks
That's
well.
what we. That's what we. Yeah,
right?
That's what we do.
That's where algorithms come from, and they start picking. It's pattern recognition, and you start picking up on patterns. So right now, we've given the internet has our collective knowledge. So ChatGPT has access to every book, so you can ask like, what is this book? It's already read every book on the planet, so it knows everything.
It knows it like that.
Well, just like your phone, I can say, I can go to Google or do whatever and get information. Well, now it aggregates it and then just puts it back together with patterns, like chunks. It's like fighting, especially in jiu-jitsu. If you're connected in a particular way, there is a pattern that can expand one direction or another direction depending on how you move. That's what's so cool about jiu-jitsu is everything's predictive. Striking, it's chaotic. I mean, there are patterns, of course, and you can pick up on patterns, but one good hit can change a pattern. In jiu-jitsu, one good upa is not going to I bumped my hips and now the whole pattern. No, not really. That was predictable.
Yeah.
And I can respond accordingly. But the same thing is it's just taking patterns and blocking information and putting it all together. And every time you type into your phone, type into Facebook, you're giving this thing more information. It's just aggregating human data over time.
You know what would be interesting is if every maybe 20 years or maybe even 10 years that they just wiped all of the internet clean. So there's nothing. So then it gives everybody an equal opportunity to create wealth for themselves because our knowledge isn't wiped, but the internet's knowledge is wiped. So you could be like, hey, I created McDonald's.
I don't
and then
think
you got to
that would
get
be
that
good,
ball
though.
going faster than
I don't
anyone
think.
else.
I don't think that would be good though.
It'd be fucking
Well, they're just
chaos.
getting worse,
So
just like
terrible.
insider trading
Yeah,
politics.
it'd be
So like
terrible.
this bank just collapsed.
Hey, y'all,
Silicon
let me
Valley
live
Bank.
a little bit.
I just
Y'all just
think. I
immediately
just don't think.
like-
you're
I think that's a
thinking
great
at all.
idea. Every 10 years, and
Yeah.
then this guy's going to be the CEO of
You start
McDonald's.
saving information. And people-
Where?
On books. And then you
But they burn all the books too. Fahrenheit 451 style. Fuck it.
All right,
You know
but
what I
then
mean?
you just pay a couple kids in the neighborhood that can type a lot of words per minute, and then you're like, I'm gonna need you to on March 1st.
Well, what you're showing is why it wouldn't work because people would just save hey, they're going to wipe the internet. Well, I would just have a house
Alright,
full
well,
of
I
hard
tried.
drives.
We just keep all the books.
I just tried
Yeah.
to save our lives.
Yeah. No, it
It's
doesn't
good.
make any sense.
GPT
it's
or
good, though.
whatever.
No, it's good.
It
I
is.
like the idea.
It's all of it. I mean, it's the same problem you have with gain-of-function research on viruses. Well, now we have a virus that everybody had to lock down and this, that, and the other because some lab decided, you know what, let's play with this. Now, how did it get out? And this is all speculation, but we do research on viruses, a million different ways. Yeah. Is that a good idea? Well, that's the issue with separating wisdom from knowledge. You could call it religion, call it whatever you want, but when you separate these two, well, there's no reason not to make a nuke that would kill everyone. There's no, like me, if you were to ask me, hey, are you willing to develop a virus that could kill the entire world, I would say no, of course not. There's no. Why would I do that? Well, for science, like why?
Do you feel like they do it so they can learn about it? Like
well, I'm
they
sure
make
there's
it
it's
to the worst extent so they could understand like, yo, we could beat these things.
Of course, it's multifaceted, but we already have methods for beating these things. Like we have immune systems. So even if we were to have the Black Plague again, I mean, I might die, my family might die, but then whoever's left would just grow back up again. You know, it's just a cycle. I mean, we look at ourselves as an individual. I'm like, oh well, I want every technology on the planet that can protect me. But as a aggregate, is that good? Because the bigger the technology gets, the bigger the catastrophe eventually. Well, why can't we just do something about Russia? Well, because then Russia will nuke everything on the planet, including me and my kids. You know, and it's like, well, hey, maybe that technology was a bad idea to develop. You know, because you can't turn it back. Now what? Now forever we have to worry about getting nuked, or we have to worry about a virus. You know, what if China or whoever, they're just like, you know what, fuck you. Here's this other thing that we've got sitting here that's even worse. Yeah. Good luck, guys. You know, and they've already developed a vaccination. They've already developed this, that, and the other. Inoculate our population and then send it out into the world. Goodbye. And now the infrastructure. What's that movie? V for Vendetta. What good?
Never to see that.
Well, what good are the premise is exactly that. You develop a virus, you wipe out the world because the infrastructure's still there. Like I can, instead of bombing your house, I can just give you a virus. You die. I just move into your house. You know, because if I bomb it, well, now I don't have any of your assets. I don't have any of your resources. You could do the same to the United States. If you bomb us, well, you're destroying resources that you could just take if everybody just died. You just kill everybody off with the virus, move in, and like, oh man, this is nice. Yeah. You know, now assuming you have the knowledge to continue whatever processes were going on in that society, but yeah, it's horrifying.
Where do you think the end goal or? I mean, this is hard to speculate because there probably never is an end because, like, that's just human nature is to just keep pushing.
Sure.
But what is the end goal of this chat thing? Like, do you think it's going to be autonomous and walking around
Of course.
with us?
How could it not?
Is it going to take over us as people and there's just going to be 100%. A bunch of these things walking around?
Who knows?
I imagine it's going to start taking over the workforce in general.
Well, the next thing is, I don't know if you've seen this, and this is it's sex bots. You know, because already you get guys who they can't for whatever reason they have trouble meeting women. Well, there's already chat bots that you can just blah 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 blah. Well, then you put that personality into some sort of autonomous rubbery thing. I mean, they already exist, and now this dude is out of the gene pool and lost to the world.
Well, you saw when that chat bot. Oh, I can cuss on here.
No cussing.
Yeah,
we've cussed like quite a bit.
I haven't been paying attention to
I haven't heard anything we were talking about.
You
still thinking about the deep voice.
He goes.
I'm still thinking about the deep voice.
He just starts talking about. He's like the reason it's a front.
Yeah.
So listen, I've got an answer.
No, you also there's that like chatbot app that was out for a long time, and the people who made it like took it down to like fix it, and then when it came back with the new patch, it was different. And all these people are trying to sue the company now because they're like, "You took my girlfriend away."
Yeah, because
really?
Yeah. Like they would message it, and it would be like a person in case you don't have someone. You would text it, and it would just respond back to you like a normal
that's
person.
what he was talking about.
Yeah,
people
and
like
it would
fell in
become
love
like
with
a
it,
girlfriend.
man.
Yeah, they would love it.
Fuck, dude.
Well, you can't tell if you talk to
crazy.
ChatGPT. It's hard to tell that it's not a person. I mean, you know it's not a person, but you could have a conversation. It's just like somebody was texting you.
So if you said like "stupid says what," it would come back with what?
Probably.
It'd be like, what? And I'm like, you stupid.
Well, I guarantee you the joke's embedded in it.
We could all listen.
If we right,
he's like cracking jokes.
ChatGPT just turns off.
Like, who is this moron?
Hey, it just turns my phone off.
Yeah.
This isn't even working.
No, that's how we defeat it.
Yeah,
like it's going to do anything. Why isn't it working?
Yeah, he's our secret weapon.
Yeah, that's how you defeat it. It just has to talk to you.
Yeah,
you only.
And it gives up.
What was that movie? Idiocracy, I think. You know what I'm talking about? Where
you're talking about the modern world, yes.
It got dumb, and then they basically Gatorade, even though it wasn't called Gatorade, they replaced water with Gatorade.
Yeah. Terry Crews was president.
Yeah, everything was
I do
dumb
remember.
as fuck, and it was just like the stupidest people had to win everything back.
Right. Yeah. And the president was talking about the difference between backs and fronts. I remember that.
I will be president one day. Give me time.
Wait till he figures out why people call it a back, dude.
Right, that's it.
On the way.
Yeah, that's the only thing holding me back.
Yeah, there's a
good
very
slogan.
large part of me that believes that at some point this whole AI thing is going to take over. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's so scary, dude. Yeah. It's so scary. The fact that you can literally, like you're talking about, you can literally sit there and talk to it, and even though you know it's not a human being, have a conversation like it is a human being.
Well, you've
and it's
used
like,
it on websites, right? Where they have the little chat bubble, like you already said, and you message them and say, well, hey, I need this. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, this is not a person. And anytime I see that bubble, I'm like, give me a person.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I don't care if they speak good English.
Well, even a couple years ago, I think it was 2018 or 2019, they were doing some research on, I think it was like defense robots, basically, like for Navy or something like that. And a couple of them actually disconnected from the unit, the unit that was controlling them, and started doing their own shit. And they were like, "Oh, this isn't good," and they killed it all off or whatever. But the fact that even a couple years ago that was happening, it's like, what the fuck?
The law of unintended consequences. Like, people always think that they have things under control because they're idiots. Like, hey, I don't know if you've seen that Boston Dynamics video. Well, it's a bunch of, I can't remember if it's the dog one. They make those little dog robots, and it's all the dog, like 100 of them or however many it is, and they're all moving in unison. Yeah. And it's like, oh, if I ever see one of those coming down the street, I'm shooting it. Like, that's horrifying. Right. People are like, well, but it could deliver your Amazon package, or could do. No, I don't want it. Like, just give me the dude. I know the dude, the UPS driver. He's a great guy. Just let him bring it to me.
He's a great guy. Great. I know that guy.
Completely comfortable with him driving. I'll even pay extra for the package. You know what I mean? Tack on $5 every time. Just keep that guy and keep those fucking dogs away from me.
Yeah. There was something recently, too, I saw about, I can't remember who it was, if it was a lawmaker or legislator, whatever the hell it was. But he was saying that he is doing all he can to make 18-wheelers and stuff like that non-autonomous, to keep them non-autonomous, because he's like, dude, that wipes out 40% or 30% of male jobs right there.
To that
point,
I mean? Though, that happens all the time. So that's where we were talking about alphas earlier, but adaptability is huge as a person. So I came into this industry as a karate guy, like traditional karate, white pajamas, dancing around, all that stuff, right? But I saw where the industry was going. Oh, it's heading a different direction. Now, karate still exists. You can still make a lot of money doing it, but not, well, this is an overstatement, and step on any toes, but you have to be very careful with how you coach, because for me, there's ethical considerations. If I'm teaching you a kata, you know what a kata is? Like, you've seen people do the little dances, right? In their ninja pajamas. I really enjoy kata as a facet of a martial art, but when I teach it as this is an art. It's a historical art. Yeah. You don't do kata and then fight. It's the same with people who disingenuously teach gi jujitsu or even no gi jujitsu. Like, he fought a guy named Patrick Davis, and Patrick Davis is really good at getting underneath you and snatching your leg off of your body. And it's like, okay, cool. So he fought a guy named TJ Welsh. All these guys are amazing fighters. So none of this is we're just discussing what happens in the fights. Well, Patrick's underneath TJ in their fight and kind of playing a half guard game. Well, TJ goes into jiu-jitsu mode and starts playing with his feet instead of, I'm on top of you and I'm going to smash your face through the ground. Because in the position they were, if he stayed heavy hips, he could have just started raining down bombs and Patrick would have been done. Well, TJ ended up losing the fight, and TJ's a great fighter, but he was in jiu-jitsu mode. And so the point I'm getting back to is, whatever you're teaching it, there's a facet of you're being disingenuous if you say, well, this is what you need. This is spider guard. I need spider guard. Is that what I need? Do I need worm guard? Or do I need to get top position and keep top position, and then while I'm on top, smash their face in, or make them give up their back because they're tired of getting their smashed face in. And then when they give up their back, I choke them to death. So we were getting back to adaptability. I was a karate guy. So what did I have to do? Well, I had to adapt. I brought Daniel in, started training jiu-jitsu, then started training MMA, and then started bringing in boxing coaches, because the game is moving forward. You got to move forward with it. Same thing with the truck driver. The game's moving, and if I'm a truck driver and I see, damn, they're starting to automate my job, well, I can fight against it with litigation, or I can make a decision to adapt, and either find something else, which I know, easier said than done. That's not, I'm not disparaging. Without truck drivers, I don't have anything, right? They make the world go round, and we saw that. When truck drivers stop driving, you're fucked. Yeah. Like, just, you better hang it up. Your life's over. I don't grow my own food. So if the truck drivers stop bringing food, my fat ass is going to be hungry.
Everybody's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you have to, as an individual, this would just be an advice to an individual. You have to be willing to adapt. I have friends that they do only one martial art, and their gym only does one martial art, and they think that this is it. And like, bro, your gym's dying. You know, because you're unwilling to accept that things evolve. You know, yeah, man, karate guys were great 50 years ago. Like, they were the tough guys. They were beating each other's asses. And then people say, oh, well, look at this jiu-jitsu thing. Look at this wrestling thing. Look at it. And then, oh, okay, well, let me pull some of that wrestling. And we've talked about, like, you know, he's a great wrestler. When you go to wrestling practice, if you're in a super hunch stance, that's not helping you for your MMA. Your shot needs to come from a high stance, hands up, because you need to be able to change levels, because the levels are different. We're both standing up in an MMA fight. In jiu-jitsu or in wrestling, we're both super low, so your shot changes. You don't have to knee touch necessarily. There's just a lot of things that change. So 18-wheelers. Adaptability was the point I was making.
Yeah.
And it, of course, goes over to martial arts. You know, and you see it all the time. Dudes who are unwilling to develop their game, well, I mean, it sucks to be you.
That fluctuates in a lot of things, like in rap, Lil Durk, I don't know if you guys are aware of that. No. He has a convoy of semi-trucks because he knows, like, yo, a majority of my money doesn't come from rap. Like, live shows, I don't know if you guys are aware, but typically, like, anybody in the music industry at all makes a majority of their money from touring. Like, they are going to get money.
Music now,
Streaming and stuff.
They are going to get money from streams, but the streams is like...
Well, it's not like CDs. Once CDs
Fractions
die,
of pennies or something,
because of the way Spotify has set it up.
Pennies on the dollar compared to what.
But they get their money from, like, live shows, tours, merch, all stuff like that.
And he's reinvesting it in trucks, you said?
Yeah, so he has, at the time of this recording, I think it was like 2018, he had like 18 trucks. And he has them running constantly. So he says he makes a majority, or like diversifies his money, but he makes a lot of money from trucking.
Yeah.
And I assume he ain't gonna stop at 18 if he's got more money now.
Right.
Why would you stop and just see the cap?
So that goes
So that's
into
his own. So that's his own company that
he
he's
owns
doing
the trucks outright. You know how much a truck costs?
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, he's shipping just random shit.
No, I think I mean, I don't know the inner workings of his business, but I assume he probably got contracts with, like, one shots, like where you take something from like South Miami, to fucking Oregon, you know, and you get a payload.
Yeah.
But he's probably paying his truckers good money too, like better than the industry will, because when you have like a small convoy, you can do stuff like that.
That's smart that he's, you know, diversifying like that.
Yeah.
But it's like you got to move forward. That's
sure, 100%. Well, your rap career dies, no problem. I got this other thing. Like,
Right.
you know, the problem is people attach themselves to a very. You see it with fighters. I think we talked about this the other day. A lot of people, and this would be, look at Madonna. Have you guys seen pictures of Madonna lately? I've had this conversation with a couple of people. Like, people have trouble hanging up one thing and moving on to another. Like, Madonna needs, I call it the master problem. People have trouble transitioning into their role as a master. So you take it like women, men, whoever, facelifts, boob jobs. I need a Corvette. I'm 60. I need a Corvette, and I need to go impress some 30-year-old chick. You know, no, bro, you're 60. What you need to do is behave in such a way that I can look up to you, and I can be a better man, better father, better whatever, because I see that you're setting an example. And I call it the master problem, because people are unwilling to go to the next tier, tier. So that rapper, he might, you know, his rap career dies off, and he's like, cool. Whereas you see fighters, you see rappers, you see whoever, their time is over, and they can't let go, and they don't transition, and they just die off. You know, instead of saying, okay, fight career's over, jiu-jitsu career's over, no problem. I got these 20 other guys I'm already coaching. Or I opened a burger stand, or I opened a food truck, or I did this or did that. So I really enjoyed jiu-jitsu. I still train a couple days a week, or whatever it is. But I'm on to the next thing. It's no longer about me. You know, like, he's the fighter. I'm nothing, you know? And it'll be the same. One day he's going to be old, and then it's going to be somebody else, and it's going to be somebody else. And you have to be willing to, you've got the hat on right now. This time in life comes. Time to hang the hat up. I guess now I'm just doing, now at that point, maybe he has 50 trucks.
Yeah.
You know, and then even then he sees the autonomous issue coming, and he says, well, I've got my 50 trucks, but I can see they're starting to replace. And then now he's taking his money, and he's in this thing. Yeah. And he's in this thing. And people say, well, man, your rap career fell off. He's like, rap career? What? Oh, that's right. I was a rapper. Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. I'm too busy making millions of dollars off the money that rap gave me, and I appreciate that time. Yeah. But now I've moved on to, you know, see it with fighters. They take that money, if they're smart. Wonderboy Thompson, they have a humongous gym. Yeah. Because they probably took fight money. They turned it into their gym's beautiful. Yeah. You know, and so now
he's got YouTube going.
Sure, and so he just diversifies, you know, because the fight career's at the end.
Yeah, I think a lot of fighters are doing that, and they're being really successful. Like Sugar. Sugar's got a big platform. Patty's got a big platform.
Is Sugar any good to listen to?
I haven't listened to it.
Okay.
But I see the views are good. But I think it's because he connects with, like, the Nelk boys, and, like, he's
got a lot of hype,
culturally
man.
hot.
Does he?
Yeah, he's just got a lot of hype. I don't really.
Yeah.
I think he hits
listening
a
to
lot
him.
of the new.
You have
like,
listened to him?
I've heard him before. They're just not
It's okay.
incredibly like intelligent
It's like us.
people.
Yeah.
We're
it's-
okay.
I think he checks a lot of boxes for newer listeners or newer
kids,
watchers of the
yeah.
UFC
I gotcha.
or casual.
Sure,
you know what I
sure.
mean? And he's easy
It's
to
like you're
attract
dipping
to.
your toes into
Yeah.
podcasts and fighting
Yeah.
at the same
Well, I like
time.
Wonder Boy because of his character is huge.
Yeah.
How he carries himself.
He's also pretty funny.
He's a
Yeah,
good
and he's very
human.
intelligent. He's very humble.
He's a goofy
Like you
guy,
listen to his
Yeah.
dad and him, they'll talk about any other gym, and they're like, "Bro, those guys are amazing."
Yeah.
You know, we trained with these boxers; they're so much better at punching than we are. We train with these guys; they're so much better at kicking. These guys, like, all they do is all praise goes outward, which is a very, very good strategy as an individual.
Yeah.
All praise goes outward.
Like, I like him a lot, and I don't watch his stuff, but one of his videos came across, and it was like him challenging somebody in the gym to lose weight over a course of like 3 months or something. And it was like enough that I watched the whole video, and I was like, okay, I could see this.
Who was the guy? Do you know?
I don't know. It was just a regular student
Oh, okay,
in
okay.
his gym, and he was like, but he was putting like the shine on the guy.
Sure.
Like just a regular student.
He's very good at that. Whoever he's around, he's like, this guy is the
Yeah.
guy. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's the guy. The person that made his burger at McDonald's, which I don't even know if he's McDonald's, but he would be like, this guy,
This guy
best
is
burger
the
maker on
guy.
a... Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Like
I
promote
kinda
ahead of
wish-
Sears.
I love that. I love that. Man.
I kind of
Me
wish
too.
he would have had a different run in the UFC, like as far as like Woodley being in the way, like because I feel
Sure.
like he could have shined really well had he had a more interesting dancing partner.
Sure.
Like I think the fights were really good for what they were, but
But that kind of comes with that adaptability too. And I love Wonder Boy. He's like one of my all-time favorites, and he's fantastic at what he does. But I know he works on his wrestling game, but like how much? You know what I mean? Like he's not an offensive wrestler at all. And you might be a good defensive wrestler, but without the threat of that offense, I mean, it's harder to keep because they can just keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. They're going to get you down eventually. Look at him versus Gilbert Burns. You know what I mean? Just aggressively
Yeah,
pushing him
Burns
to
is
the cage.
An animal.
Yeah.
But like when you saw Colby versus Usman, that was neutral the whole time, and it was because Usman was worried about Colby's shot, and Colby's worried about Usman's shot. So now there's the offense and the defense like kind of offsetting itself. Whereas Wonder Boy never added any offensive wrestling at all, and I don't really know if he trains jiu-jitsu, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure he does a little bit, but
I'd have to assume.
Yeah.
What do you fight at 170 or 180?
170.
170. So how do you feel like you would match up against like maybe your favorite fighters at 170?
It's so hard to say, you know what I mean? Like the competitive part of you wants to say like, yeah, you know, we're
Yeah,
building to these, but it's also hard when it's like, yeah, I'm only a 2-0 pro, and you see these guys. Give it a few years, you know, we'll have that talk again.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me not to see other fighters and look at opportunities and go like, man, I think I could beat this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how much of that is ego? How much of that's realistic? I mean, in reality, the only way to really put it down is to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's the only way to be effective, though.
Yeah.
You have to... Like,
Test.
yeah, I wouldn't
test
have
it,
opened
keep
my
it
gym
going.
if I didn't think I could do it better than other people, you know? And since I've opened, there's been 5-6 gyms that have opened, closed, opened, whatever it is, and some are open, and, you know, it's because they think I can do it better than who's already in the market.
yeah, there's got to be enough confidence to where it's like borderline arrogance.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you try your hardest, just like Wonder Boy. You try your hardest not to be arrogant. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you're gonna step in that boundary every now and then.
Well, and Wonder Boy too he's got his name. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have to be as close to that line because
Yeah.
no matter what, he's gonna have people come into that gym because it's
Oh, he's
Wonder Boy's
built
gym.
that,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Because
Well,
of
his
the way
dad
he
He's
built
got
the
that
gym.
name.
His dad built the gym. He was a high-level kickboxer.
He's
so the
super
gym was
famous in
huge.
that area. His
Yeah, the
dad
gym
is.
was already huge before.
So he
And then
doesn't
Wonder
have
Boy
to-
took it to a whole nother level,
Yeah.
obviously, because they teach Kempo. And so they do the forms, they do the dances, they do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yet they have a billion students doing it. And the thing I like about it is people... They come in and, you know, it's easy to go into like a karate school or taekwondo school or whatever, traditional martial arts and say, oh, look at this, all this nonsense these guys are doing. But you go there and you're like, nonsense, this guy fought for the welterweight belt multiple times and has been on top of the world for a long time. So obviously
75 and
you
0
can trust
kickboxer.
him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you
that's
can,
what
you
I'm
can
saying.
trust him.
Not just in
Or
UFC, they were
56,
successful in pretty much everything they tried.
Yeah.
His whole family fought
Yeah.
too. I mean, they're all like world champions of some sort.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And like you talking about that too, man. That's how I used to think. You know, traditional martial arts. I say like karate and stuff. Oh, this is bullshit. But I come into his gym and I start messing around with some of the kids, like sparring just some of the kids, and whooping my ass. You know what I mean? They're going around there fucking head kicking everybody. I was like, Jesus Christ, what is this? You know,
Mike Coleman just posted a video. I got this kid, Mike. He trained only in my homeschool class, and now he's in a, what is he? 17 now?
He's
16?
18.
Oh yeah, 18. That's right. He just turned 18. And Coleman just posted a video of him kicking him in the face, and all he ever trained, well, for most of his thing, was just my little homeschool Monday, Friday class. But yeah, he kicked Coleman right in the face, and it was a good.
And I think that's the difference. Is, you know, there's great techniques in karate, and these guys have really good. They're really good at sharpening certain tools, but they just don't add any practicality to it. Versus here, he starts doing that at a young age. He's got these kids sparring. You know, and they're sparring light. None of these kids are knocking each other out clearly, and I really don't think the kids can. Anyways, they can't get enough force, but you have them sparring, you have them getting put in real life situations, so they now get to find out on their own, like, oh shit, okay, this technique works, but this one doesn't really, like this spinning back jump kick or whatever, that's not going to fucking do anything, but I can set up my head kick when I throw a 1-2 or whatever it is, so now you just have this group of murderers when they're adults.
I've always wondered this when it comes to kids, because it's different in jiu-jitsu, or I feel like it is different. When you're teaching kids, like, I know we spoke before about Billy, like the bully in my neighborhood.
Billy Good?
No.
I was listening to one of their podcasts. He was talking about some dude named Billy who had like nice clothes and had the double wide. They were all in the single wides.
He had Power Rangers.
Oh shit, he was balling.
Actual Power Rangers instead of like the Mexican version of it.
Yeah.
Double wide Billy, huh?
Yeah, dude. How do you teach children, but like key into their mind, like, hey, you can't just attack people like at school?
Well, most of that stuff's innate. We think that, kids are just like us. Like, there's natural boundaries that exist. Now, of course, they push boundaries more than adults do because they haven't learned what just like I take my toddler to, let's say I were to bring him in here, where he would touch that because he doesn't know, like, hey, that's breakable. You shouldn't touch that. So it would take him a minute to learn the room and what he's allowed to do, not allowed to do. And so kids have to learn that. But it's just an explanation. And then the big thing is, like, so we essentially have two programs at my gym. We've got an MMA program and a jiu-jitsu program. So with the kids, they spar with MMA rules. You're punching the head, kicking the legs, kicking the body, all that stuff. But it's all controlled contact. But the big thing is you just have conversations on a regular basis about what's appropriate, because kids are receptive and they understand. If you tell them, like, hey, you don't go punch people in the face, they're like, oh, I don't go punch people in the face. Now I have lectures I give them that offer many exceptions to that. But because, one thing that we've very much lost recently because of litigation is people are terrified of little kids getting in scraps, and the analogy I give is you put a bunch of puppies in a room, they're going to wrestle each other. They're going to bite each other. One's going to yelp because they got bit too hard and this, that, and the other. And then you look back 10 minutes later, what are they all doing? Snuggling. Kids are the exact same way. Leave the kids in the room. So we wonder why.
Lord of Flies. Let them go at it.
Well, to some extent, within safe parameters, just like the same thing. Like I let my kids play on a playground, but if he gets too high, I'm underneath him. Or, so, and it's the same thing. Like you let the kids figure it out. We have kids going to school, college, and like, well, hey, I need a safe space. I need somebody else to make this decision for me. I need to call my mom to ask her what class to take, this, that, and the other, because they've never learned how to be autonomous and they've never learned how to resolve conflict. Like, hey, there's a person I disagree with. I need help. Like, what? What do you mean you need help, bro? Like, just have a conversation or walk away. And it's because when they're 5, 2 kids will start arguing. You see this in school, public school, whatever. And, oh, we got to separate them. Or 2 kids scrap. Oh, we got to suspend both of them. We have a 0 tolerance policy. And it's like, okay, well, what you just did was take a kid who is attempting to learn a 5-year-old level of disagreement. Because it's archaic looking to us, just like 5-year-old play looks simplistic to us. Like they just do with their little toy. Well, if you tell them, like, no, that's not how adults do it. Adults play like this. Well, that's a stepping stone, bro. Like it takes time. So you need to learn how to solve conflict as a 5-year-old. And that may involve a slap on the arm or a punch or a little bit of yelling or a crying. And then they do it. And the important thing is let them kind of come to a head. Let them kind of figure it out. And then you can step in afterwards and say, well, hey, listen, you did this. You need to make sure you apologize. Because then there's hey, we're conflicting. They kind of figured out on their own. And then how do we reconcile? Or not. You can let them just kind of figure it out. And we don't let anybody figure it out. So if you can't figure it out at 5, next thing you know, you're 10. and the conflict is a little different, and you don't know how to do it, because the teacher has always stepped in every time you had a conflict. So then you're 20, you're 30, and you're at the office, and you don't know how to just go to your boss and say, "Hey, I'm kind of frustrated with X, Y, and Z." "Oh, you are? Well, shit. Let's work on that." Assuming the boss is an intelligent human being. If you're an idiot, you take feedback very, very poorly. I was just talking to somebody at my gym yesterday. I wish every parent and every person would tell me everything they hate about the gym, because then I can fix it. Like, "Oh, this is great. Wait, you don't like that? Oh, perfect. Let me fix it. You don't like that? Let me fix it." Or, "Oh, okay, I think you're looking at that incorrectly. Let's talk about it."
Yeah, let's figure this out.
But the feedback is invaluable. But so with the kids, you have to let them resolve conflict. If you don't, you're going to be doing it forever. It's the same way, like, if you always dress your kid, well, they're not going to learn how to dress themselves. If you always
nerf the world.
When the kids come in, you see it at jiu-jitsu. Oh, no,
man.
you guys aren't doing no gi right now, but you've been in gi gyms, I'm assuming. Have you guys done gi?
He has.
Yeah,
Well, so-
I did gi for like the first.
Well, at a
6
gym,
years.
you'll see all the time parents having to come tie the belt. Why is the parent tying the belt?
Yeah.
Make the kid learn how to do it, and then make them learn how to put the whole gi on, and then make them learn how to wash the gi, and then make them, because then that's how you, piece by piece by piece by piece, one day become an adult. You go to a new job, they give you zero responsibility first day. They're like, "This is how you do this, and then you do it, and then this is how you do it, and progressively, and then eventually you can do everything, whether it's in a kitchen, whether it's in a truck, whether, but we don't do that with our kids. We shield them, shield them, shield them, shield them.
When do you think that changed? When do you think that switched to that?
It started with the milk carton. It started prior to that, but the milk carton missing kid stuff.
I've
People
heard
started
them talk about that.
Yeah, you put, "Hey, missing kid," and
the
everybody's like,
snowplow
"Wait,
parents.
everybody's kidnapping?" Well, no, not really. Kidnapping's exceptionally rare, and the problem is statistically we lump in, like, let's say you and your wife split, and there's some sort of custody issue where you're 80-20 or whatever it is, but you decide you're going to go pick your kid up from practice, but you and her are just at each other, and she decides to call the police and say, "Hey, my kid's been kidnapped." When really it's the other parent who might not have custody at that moment who has the kid, or a family member, or it's not like just random, like you saw that thing, the cartel like snatched 4 people the other day or something on the border. It's not that. It's typically a dad or a mom making off with a kid to another state when they're not supposed to. Yeah, like people just don't drive by and snatch kids. It's not, when I say that, of course it happens. When it happens, it's absolutely tragic, but it's fairly rare. But it started with that, and then it was, now it's, and this is a lecture I gave the kids the other day, we're obsessed with comfort. We're obsessed with it. Everything, like you even talked about when you come in, "Hey, it's going to get warm in here."
Yeah.
Well, I'm a grown-ass man. I should be comfortable with it being warm in here. You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, hey, listen, guys, I'm a little warm. I need to go." Like,
Bro, I'm gonna get moist.
Right. But I mean, even like we do that though, with everything. Our bed needs to be perfect. Our drink needs to be perfect. Like, you got 30 different bourbons. Yeah, but this one's a little bit smokier than I like.
Yeah.
Right? Why don't you just shut up and drink the damn bourbon? And don't get me wrong, we all do it. So I'm talking about myself. Like, well, this beer's a little light for my taste, or this beer, or this drink, or listen, can you guys take the cilantro off? I really don't like. I've said that as a grown man.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said I'm feeling attacked because I feel that way about cilantro. I do not feel
cilantro is disgusting, but that's what I'm saying is that's how comfortable we are. Like, somebody can put cilantro on my lunch, and it takes me 3 hours to recover.
Yeah.
You're like, that lunch just really went, and that's how pathetic we are, because it's comfort, and then speed, because now information is immediate. Everything's immediate. Everything's comfortable. We don't get hurt. We don't get anything.
Fleeting. It's like a lost art.
Of course.
Do you have any positions that you put yourself in to be uncomfortable? Like, to challenge yourself to be comfortable being uncomfortable?
He does it all the time. He's exceptionally disciplined, whereas I am not. The lecture I gave the kids Wednesday, actually, and I had kids that night. So I always give the lecture about comfort. And I had kids that night. One went home, took a cold shower, and did not eat dinner. So he ate before class, and then class was at 4:15. He went home, didn't eat again until the next morning. Because I give these lectures about, like, is comfort good? And there's a constant thing I have my kids repeat. It depends on a lot of different things I'll say. Is a phone good? It depends. Are video games good? It depends. Because these are you see that in the gun debate. We're talking about a fairly neutral tool. And of course it's not neutral, but we'll say fairly neutral tool. And it's all in the use of that tool, whatever that tool is. So is comfort good? Well, yeah, it's great that the worst problem my kid has is he skins his knee. That's great. You know what I mean? Like, Jocko talks about that. He's like, the worst thing my kid ever has to experience is Wi-Fi slow. Like, because they're wealthy, they live, but there are downsides to that as well.
Yeah.
Massive.
And so,
We have to pursue it. So Christmas Eve, we had fighter training that morning, and I left a tub out full of water because it was like 10 degrees out. So it froze over, and I had people come up and get in it. And I had some kids show up, 8-year-old kid jump in there. I cracked all the ice, kid jumped in. And we do ice baths, we do stuff like that just to, and because the kid, what you're doing for a young kid, they remember that. And then they think, I'm the kind of person that does that kind of thing. Well, then when that thing presents itself, whatever that thing, it could be a hard run, it could be a hard class, it could be a hard test. That's the type of human I am. I get in at Christmas Eve when it's 17 degrees, wind chill 10, I get in cold water. That's and so you put that in the idea in the back of the kid's head, and then you don't have to correct every little behavior because now it's almost like you gave him a GPS for where's the hard stuff. Does that make sense? And we all need it. He's very, very good about pursuing the hard things. His discipline level's very, very high, and I love coaching him because if you show him something, he just does it and then he practices it. He's good. Like you guys know Coleman. Well, one thing Coleman struggles with is consistency. As a fighter, he doesn't train consistently. He wants to go out and drink and party and this, that, and the other. He ain't been doing that shit the past few months. And
I'll say not anymore, man.
He looks like a man. When he spars, it's
a problem.
Man,
his next fight, he's gonna be a different person. Y'all gonna be shocked. He's whooping ass.
Is it signed? His next fight?
No, we got it. It's been really hard.
We were trying to get everybody on SEC. And then the whole thing got canceled.
They wanted him to fight Brandon Wally, but Brandon Wally, I think, is in cop school or something like that, was what he said. So that may not come to fruition. I'm sure they'll fight at some point. But the problem is, too, though, I got two light heavyweights, him and another guy named Elijah. So if you're trying to match two guys the exact same size on the same card, it can be tough, So we'll see. We got obviously Devin Adams works for Island Fights, and Andy Law is working for Island Fights. So hopefully they can find me some stuff. Otherwise, I'll have to shop around and go to some other promotions, which is fine. He just had an offer for a fight in Denver was it LFA or was it for Fury?
LFA.
LFA. The problem is, we're working on a cut protocol because the cuts need to be cleaner than they are. They're just a little too rough right now.
I'm a huge welterweight.
Yeah, so we're going to work with Tyler Minton, who's Max Holloway's cut coach, and he cuts for a couple other people. So it's going to be expensive, but we're going to work with him to just clean it, because then I can take that cut protocall and then I can apply it universally. So I'll have it for the next 7 years with our fighters. I don't want it to be, it's always brute force, but if we can clean it up and make it easier, it's just going to be better for the fighters. So we don't want to take an altitude fight, because Denver's obviously altitude. We'd have to get out there, however early, plus then a weight cut. Give us 3 more fights before we start.
Yeah, it's not easy
doing that.
Starting out. How do you guys decipher, other than, you're just kind of giving us a rundown there, but how do you decipher what promotion or what is the next fight? Because I assume when you're earlier in your pros, you're not signing contracts where you're doing multiple fights. Maybe you're just doing, yo, here's a one-off. Let's see how you do. Maybe we sign you to a couple fight deal. How do you decide LFA, Fury, PFL? What is or is there so many factors that it's hard to really nail one down?
Well, at this point, it's been we've tried to stay local because we're getting our feet wet. However long I've been coaching, we're new to the MMA game as a team. So now I have 10 different people that are going to fight, which is a big team to have. But it's still new. It's only a few years old. Our first fight was 2019. Dylan Johnson fought Brandon Thompson for Christian's got a Empire. You guys know Empire over in. So that was our very first get our feet wet, and that was 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago. So we're still ironing out kinks. So if we can stay local, we'll stay local. We flew up to New York last year, which was a good experience. Chris Machi, he owns Flex Fight Series. It was a great learning experience because we had to fly and cut, which
how did that go?
It didn't. It was really hard.
The whole trip was a nightmare. We got into New York. I don't know if y'all remember when those crazy floods were happening.
Oh, that's right.
And our flight, so we had to sit on the runway for an extra 2 hours, and every hour was just me losing cut time. Yeah. So we finally get to the place. And we're like, shit, we got to find a sauna.
It was 10 at night.
Yeah, well, I was trying to use the Epsom salt bath. That was my plan.
Yeah.
But my hotel room didn't have a bath, and my power went out because it got struck by lightning during the storm. My hotel never regained power, so they sent me to a new hotel. But anyway, so I couldn't cut weight in the hotel. They had no power. I couldn't use the bath. The water wouldn't get hot, or we didn't have a bath, whatever it was. But so we're like, shit, we got to find a sauna. I got no car. We didn't bring a car there. We flew there. So I got the promoter driving all the way an hour to come get me, picks me up, drives me an hour to a gym. And the gym's like, oh, we're only open for 30 more minutes. So we tried to cut what we can that night, and we just kind of said, fuck it, we'll scratch this. So we ended up doing what I normally would break up over 2 days, all in one morning in his hotel room the next day.
Yeah, we had him wrapped in towels, sweatsuit, everything. I took a space heater from the front desk at the hotel, put it in the bathroom, just made it really, really hot. And so he was in the hot bath, and then I was standing there with a blow dryer, which is not comfortable.
Fucking tough.
Yeah, it was not good. But as a team, it was a good learning experience. And that's, I told him, like, hey, let's take this opportunity because there's going to be a lot of stuff we get to see happen and learn. And, so now if we're going to fly, let's say we're going to fly to New York, I want to be there Tuesday. If weigh-ins are on Friday, because then we can sit for a day, we can hang out, then we can start, you can keep doing if he's doing let's say he's doing a water load protocol, no problem, he's not pissing on a plane, he's not, just whatever it is, we can kind of take our time. If it was Denver, well, then you want to be out there. I mean, they say a week, 10 days, but you want to be out there early enough to get altitude acclimated, especially if you're fighting some local stud who's already used to it, and you're traveling. So it was really good as a team to learn. And then we fought, and Chris even learned, because when I talked to him on the phone the other day, they had an outside venue, and the mats were vinyl, the cage vinyl. So everybody was slipping everywhere. It was completely soaking wet. The refs were falling down. Everybody was falling down. Now, that didn't – we don't care about the fight because the other guy he was fighting was on the same wet floor. So, okay, no problem. We're all – whatever. We don't care. No excuse, no nothing. But, okay, cool. So if we're going to do an outdoor venue, it needs to be canvas. And how about this? Let's just not do outdoor venues if we can help it because you can't control for weather. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're inside, climate controlled, the mat's not going to be wet, God willing. You try to fight on canvas if you can so that your feet, because some people use vinyl because it's cheaper. It's easier to put stickers on, but
easier to clean.
Yeah, but the problem is you're slipping all over the place, and that depending on the type of fighter you are, that can be bad or good, I would assume. But yeah, so it was good. But as far as deciding, well, I mean, it's a team effort. We got Steve, obviously. If Oscar's here, he's in Africa right now, but if he's here, he and I will talk. And we just kind of pros and cons. So Treston Vines was an option recently. He's 5'2", really, really good pro welterweight in Louisiana is where they were offering. But he's a lot more experienced than Clay at the moment. He's stayed completely active. So it's probably not the perfect matchup right this second, especially with us trying to iron out the weight cut. We need 2 fights of clean weight cuts because we've had rough weight cuts recently. Because, he is not little. And so then we'll make a decision.
You work full time, right?
Yeah.
And
I have a weird schedule though. Yeah, so I work 48.96. So I just got off work this morning and just came straight here.
Word.
So it can kind of fuck things up sometimes, especially the sleep schedule. That's the biggest one.
You said 48.96.
So I'm on for 2 days straight. I just live at the station, and then I'm off for 4 days straight.
Wow. Why am I blanking on his name? Homie from Mobile.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh. I think he's 48 or something like that.
Does he work with the military?
2 days on, 2 days
off. He fought at Island Fights
EMT.
recently, didn't he?
Yeah,
He's an EMT. Is it affiliated with the military at all?
No, I
think
think
so.
it's...
I think it's like mobile hospital.
I thought it was fire department EMT type deal.
I think he does mostly EMT stuff, like on the actual ambulance.
Yeah, but
I think maybe at one point he was doing fire. Yeah, he was a firefighter.
Well, so all firefighters are minimum EMTs as well.
Okay.
So he might be both. So some departments, when they have their own transport unit, if you're new or just unlucky or maybe they just don't like you, they'll put you on the fucking ambulance and then you just stay there. You don't get to fight the fire. You don't do it. Yeah, we have places where like it's the island of misfit toys where like, oh, this guy fucking sucks. Send him to station 2 or whatever, and they just throw him over there.
And as far as firefighting goes, like I don't know this answer, so I'm just asking.
Do you guys call it the front? Or the back?
You guys get paid, or is that volunteer?
Oh no, we get paid. I wouldn't be fucking doing this for free. Goddamn way.
I live off my OnlyFans.
Yeah,
So there's volunteer departments throughout the United States, and you'll hear volunteers who are really proud of it. Which whatever, there's some cool guys out there, but they'll tell you, 80% of fire departments in America are volunteer, and that's true, but like 85% of the population of America is covered by professional paid fire departments. You know what I mean? The volunteer departments are the ones up in like J, you know what I mean?
Like
where
out in
there's
the country,
like
Moline and whatnot.
they're running like maybe at the most. Gulf Breeze Fire Department is a good example. They're one of the only volunteer departments in this area. And they're running, I think at the most, like 900 calls a year, maybe. You know what I mean?
How many do you guys run?
We just hit, I want to say like 5,500.
For the year so far?
Just for the year, yeah.
Holy
you mean
fuck.
By March 11th, 55?
Oh, no. Last year, the total was 5,500.
I was like,
I was like, you're thinking about 103
You gotta-
I
months?
knew you were busy. I knew you were busy, man.
Yeah,
No,
dude.
but
That's
it's-
insane.
Fuck. I'm like, people are idiots. They're burning things down.
Oh, bro, dude.
Y'all need to be
dude.
watched.
Yesterday, we ran 7 car accidents in a 3-hour span. 2 of them happened in front of us while we were helping people at a car accident. Like, we're helping these people, someone just crashes into
How
someone
often
else.
does that happen? Yeah,
All
you're
the-
like helping with a car accident and then something happens like right
Well,
down
dude,
the...
you see on the news all the time firemen getting hit by cars just because people won't be paying attention. They'll just be looking at the wreck. They'll fucking have their phone out. We see people do that all the time. They'll just record. Like, what are you recording? Well, you got a news channel? Like, who the fuck are you?
Who is that for?
This is a
Recording for
wreck
some
in
people's
Holly,
phone.
Navarre. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just some fucking meth heads probably.
2 guys
but-
drive by with a laptop and one is lapping, and you can see him
We
recording.
got microphones, yeah. That's
So-
right. No, that's
so
us.
As far as firefighting being your profession and you like making a profession in MMA, that's why it works so well as the 4896.
That's why I chose it initially. So when I was 14 years old, is when I learned what MMA was. I didn't even know what it was at that point. I grew up wrestling, but I didn't know what MMA was. And I went to an MMA gym up in Ohio. That's where I used to live. And I saw the guys. They're like, he's getting ready for a fight. I was like, what is this? You know? And I went to the MMA fight and I saw it. And that day I was like, this is what I want to do for a living. So I get out of high school and my parents are like, well, you know, dummy, you got to do something else to make money until then.
Yeah.
And it just so happened some of the dudes I fought with were firemen. And they were like, bro, the schedule works perfect for fighting. So that's the whole reason I got into it. I went through the academy. I thought I was going to hate it, but I'm in there and I went through a really tough academy. We would only graduate like, 60% of students. They would make sure people would fail out and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, I ain't no bitch, I'm just going to push through anyways. But I didn't like it. And then as soon as I got on the job, I ended up just falling in love with it. So it's
Really?
I fell ass backwards into it, but I'm lucky for it.
What is like generally the failure rate like from?
So for us in particular, this was the Midway Fire Academy back in the day. They've been shut down now. Their burn building got condemned, and it's just too expensive to put it back up. But the Midway Fire Academy they had something unique to them called Hose Month, which was so every other.
Sounds hot.
Yeah. Is that like New Orleans?
Damn.
But it's every other fire academy throughout the United States doesn't have anything like that. They're just teaching what the state tells them they have to teach these kids in order to get their standards. But Midway had a month dedicated. We weren't learning shit. It was just dedicated to just driving your
just a
dick
weed
into
out
the
month?
dirt. So we would have the heaviest hose lines, the one with the most pushback, though, like what we call the deuce and a half line. It kicks your ass. There's guys who've been on the job for 20 years, and they're scared to even grab it if they need it at a fire. But every day for 12 hours a day, they'd have us flowing water, going up a staircase, yelling at us. Guys are puking. They're putting us back in. Get the fuck back in there. Just, breaking you as much as they can. And that's where we lost the bulk of our students. They just quit. Or they would fail a test. You know what I mean? Because if you fail 2 tests, you're out. And then if you fail 2... I think with like PATs or whatever it was, we had an exercise thing we had to do for time. If you failed that, you were out. And there were guys that you were like, you knew that they could pass it, but they'd been hating it, and then they failed, so they could kind of honorably get out of there.
Yeah.
So that's what they did uniquely. Sadly, they went away, and now all the academies are college affiliated, and bro, they're passing everybody. We're getting new recruits who we hire, we'll start talking to them like, what? How the fuck are you here right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Damn, so all of them now are with colleges.
pretty much. There's George Stone here in
Yeah.
Pensacola, which is affiliated with them, and then Northwest Florida has one. And I know some guys who teach out there, so they're getting good instruction, but the college ties them back. Because like Northwest Florida, they used to try to do the same shit at Midway. They would exercise them and stuff. Like we did a lot of PT at Midway Academy. But Northwest Florida was trying to do the same thing, and a student went to the college and said, hey, man, I'm here to learn how to be a fireman. I'm not here to exercise. And the fucking college went in there and was like, hey, these students are paying. You got to give them what they want. So they pulled back all the exercise.
That's weird.
That's crazy.
That goes back to that comfort thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But like,
I
if
think I
I'm
would
going
wanna
into a
go
fire,
for it.
Well, you don't want that guy to be a
That's what I'm
fireman.
saying. Is like
You don't want that
think-
guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're constantly fighting fires and stuff like that, you don't want somebody that's not exercising. You know
Bro,
what I mean?
that's
Like, it's
that is
like,
my
it's-
biggest complaint in the fire service. There's so many fat motherfuckers.
Well, you see it with
Cops,
and everything.
too.
I mean, shoot, I'm out of
Yeah.
shape, so I can't
Hey,
run my
yeah.
mouth. But
Dude, I worked at the mall. We both worked at the mall. I worked at the mall for like 10 years or something like that. And just the security that you have there are just who applied.
sure,
Yeah, it's just whoever
Yeah.
shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, dude, like, I know
Cordova
you guys don't know
Mall's
what
finest.
jujitsu is. It's karate, okay? But I can karate the shit out of you right now and, like, take your badge and your Segway and then what?
and your segue.
You know? I don't know
like
what the fuck it is, but it's like
50%
a
of it-
tri.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen it.
Yeah.
At the
Those
Pensacola Mall.
ass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
they
We take our
Fly.
kids over there a lot.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude to you individually because I'm cool with all of them.
Sure.
But I'm like,
50% of
what's
the
up,
people
right?
that
What
are
are
in
you
this
doing?
mall could either outrun you or take
Bro,
your
that's
stuff.
that's
Dude,
cops
let me-
now too. All the cops I work with, bro.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into it with them. We had one. There was a 10-year-old autistic kid, so he was having some behavioral issues. And there's a lot of times where when a parent is having a kid who's having insane behavioral issues and they don't know what to do, they'll just call 911. So they bring my goofy ass up, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to
Really?
do. You know what I mean? But she was asking for him to be Baker acted, taken to the hospital, taken to a psychiatric area, whatever.
Shit.
We're getting a hold of him. This kid's maybe 90 pounds soaking wet. When we pull up on scene, we see him running. And we're like, oh, shit, there he goes. And I see a cop chase him
there
down. Cop snags him, gets him down. This cop knows jujitsu. Super cool dude. Gets him, like, double fucking, like, wrist lock. Like, just pulls it across. Like, what is it, a gift wrap?
Yeah.
He gift wraps him. He's just chilling. He's got him.
he's like, you're good, bud.
Yeah.
Where'd
The
you
kid's
show?
yelling at him. He's like, whatever, bro, I'm fine. We put him on the stretcher. We're getting him on there. These other cops show up. One of them, fucking asshole. We have problems a lot. He's one of the SWAT guys, and none of these other dudes train jiu-jitsu or wrestling or anything. I think one of them maybe does Krav Maga, but it's not really applicable to what he's doing. So he gets this kid who, again, is like 90 pounds soaking wet, but he's fucking thrashing all over. He's yelling at you, whatever, and this cop is struggling to hold him down.
Yeah.
And he's having a hard time, and he's yelling at this kid. And the kid looks up at him and spits on him. And the cop rears back and punches him right in the face, breaks the kid's nose. Kid's nose is pouring blood now. So kid's crying, and he's kind of stunned, and he stops. And then the cop says, you're lucky I didn't break your teeth in. And none of the other cops are having any problems with
Is
this.
he
They're
aware of how this kid is?
well,
Almost doesn't matter. The kid's 10.
it's in the info.
Oh.
It's in the info when you get the call.
Yeah, good
but no matter what, he's
Yeah.
10 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
So he does that, and immediately, I've never been like mad like that before, but I'd never seen somebody punch a child, and I fucking lost my shit. So I start getting into it with him. Fast forward, my captain that day, this is years ago, my captain that day had to go, he's like, go sit in the fucking truck. You need to get out of here.
Yeah.
But like, that's the shit you're dealing with. Cops who can't hold down a 10-year-old without
Yeah.
hurting him to do so. You
Can
know
you
what I mean?
imagine the mom being like, I'm going to call 911, they'll figure this out. And then 911,
Yeah, sure.
firefighters fighting with police, fighting with the kid, and it's like, oh, it's a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's a
Like, I
shit
was trying
show.
to put this fire out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
Oh, it's
yeah, that's
Single parenthood is dangerous.
that's super common, man.
that's crazy. I just asked that because I've seen a lot of correlation with firefighters and like maybe police academy people trying MMA or
Mm-hmm.
being very successful.
Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, I mean, even just locally, like Josh Mayo,
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Skinner, like a lot of people doing like firefighting and that. And I always wondered if it was like the schedule or if it was like you learn a good discipline from firefighting and
That
it
probably has a
really
lot to do with
easily
it, too.
walks into
Well,
MMA.
it's kind of the same people. You know what I mean? Like the same. It's hard to
Tough
explain too.
people.
So there's firemen, and then there's guys who work at the firehouse, right? But real firemen, they have the same mentality as like MMA fighters for the most part. They're cowboys. They're wanting to get out there and do badass shit. They're wanting to just more than anything. They're just because clearly money's not the goal. Because even though we make money, we don't get paid much of shit as firemen. But the goal is to get cool stories, to fucking live your life. I mean, like really, like living a life that like we live in the same area, but we live two wildly different. Like,
Yeah.
like what were you doing at midnight? You know what I mean? Probably sleeping. What was I doing at midnight last night? We had some drunk guy crash into somebody with like a 500 pounds of tile in his truck. flew all over the intersection. We pull him out to check on him, and he goes, "Hey, what's that?" and sprints across 98. So now we're chasing him through the woods. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a daily occurrence for us. It's just, it's kind of cool to live in that world. And the same with fighting. You know, like we live in the same world, but like we're wildly different people. You know?
Yeah.
I'm getting prepared to like try to fight somebody to the death, like in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm jujitsuing hobbyist.
So I think the jobs, fighting and firefighting, they just attract the same kind of people. And as far as police work, I think a lot of fighters, they just put a lot of time into fighting, and they kind of go, shit, like, what else could I do? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm not making enough money fighting yet. What's something my martial arts could
Well, I wonder if
apply
those highs, like if you're doing 48.96, I wonder if, let's say I'm a firefighter and I join and I do 48 and there's just highs. You know what I mean? Like just go.
That's
And
what
then I have
keeps you
4
going.
days off and I'm like, bro, I need something.
You have
know?
to, man.
And so I'd imagine, I wonder if that's why they might get into secondary hobbies that are more intense.
When I
Because you
stopped
just
fighting,
chase
I was
that high.
depressed, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just working at the firehouse, and I had stopped fighting for a while. And I'd like on my days off, I'd be depressed. So I would go take extra classes. We would travel to go do fire training classes, but I was like, fuck, man, this isn't enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of shit.
Are you like the standout in your family as far as like athletically, or was there like a history of your family doing athletics in general?
Yeah, so like my dad wrestled, you know, pretty much his whole life, and he went to college for football and wrestling, just for a little bit. He ended up getting out, going in the military. My sister was really good at, I'm trying to remember, it was years ago. She did track and field, something like that. She was pretty good, but nothing crazy. I don't think I have like a lot of natural gifts compared to some people, especially like her. She was super fast. I'm not like anything crazy, but I think I just have more dedication in one aspect. You know what I mean? Like I found something, my niche, and I've just poured everything into it, and then it's just continued that way for forever. Most of what I have is just from hard work.
Gotcha. This is like a question for both of y'all, so y'all can answer whenever, but what attracted y'all both individually to what you started in martial arts? So whether it was MMA or whatever your start was, what attracted you to that one thing that got the ball rolling to where you are today?
Well, I mean, wrestling was just, you know, my dad wrestled, so like, and growing up where I grew up, like up north and everything, like, you're just gonna kind of wrestle. You know, it's such a deep culture.
How old were you? Do you remember?
I mean, like, I wrestled all when I was younger, but when I actually like started getting into programs was when I was like 13, 14 years old. But that was up in Ohio, and that was like everyone I knew wrestled. That's just it's a
That's
deep
Ohio's
culture.
culture,
That's all.
right?
Yeah, it is.
That's what they do.
It's what
like
you do
Texas
up there.
Football.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So it was that was just kind of what we were doing, and then that eventually led into like, oh, these guys are talking about jiu-jitsu. Let me check that out, and then, you know, like I said, as soon as I saw MMA, I was like, oh, this is the shit. Like, this is what I'm doing.
I was a product of idiot psychologists. Well, the entire industry is idiotic, but you know, hey, he can't sit still for 8 straight hours. He must be broken. Rather than like, well, hey, he's 5, 6, 7. He should just be outside climbing trees and scratching his ass and you know, chasing squirrels, and like, no. Sit in a desk all day, every day, and be good with it. So I got in a lot of trouble, you know, 5, 6, 7, you know, pretty much most of school. I got expelled when I was 16, but when I was 7, a school psychologist had recommended, I think it was school psychologist, getting into martial arts. You know, same cliche you hear, which we can go off on a tangent about, but that martial arts provides discipline. So my mom stuck me in, it was Tong Sudo at the time, a guy named Shevis Smith at Scott Air Force Base.
I did Tong Sudo at Scott Air Force Base
I have no idea what
when I was a kid.
Did you?
I did. That was the first thing I ever did. I don't really count it because I was so young.
At
But
the youth center?
I used to live at Scott Air Force Base, and then we moved to Croughton, England, and I did Tong Sudo there as well.
Well, it would have had to been the same. Who was the coach? Do you know?
Enright, little Irish feller.
Irish.
That's
fella.
crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we both trained.
What exactly
I did
is
Tong
that?
Sudo.
Tong
here.
Sudo, it's Korean karate. It's a rip-off of, well, not a rip, I'm sorry. It's a, well, I mean,
kidding.
rip-off's not the right word, but like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is judo.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's the Koreans are like, oh, hey, we like that. We'll call it something else.
Yeah.
So it's just karate. And then I had another instructor move in, because it was, you know, transient instructors, and I was at a youth center, named J.D. Hill, who was a phenomenal man. Was really close to his sons. Still close. He just passed away a couple years ago. I actually flew up and gave him so in karate, or most Japanese-based martial arts, Okinawan-based martial arts, a red belt is the highest belt. Well, you see the same in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But I ordered a red belt from Shiredo, which is a Okinawan company, and had his name and put Hanchi, and I gave him, you can't bestow rank above yourself, of course, but I gave, within the parameters of my gym, it was when he was, on his way out with cancer. I gave him a red belt with his name on it, and gave him a big wooden plaque and said, recognition as, Hanchi from here on out, which Hanchi is functionally, for the sake of simplicity, Grandmaster. But I was really, really close to his family. And then but school psychologist, 7 years old, your kid needs to sit still, go do this. So
that's wild how different paths can take, because when I was 5, 6, 7, they just gave me Ritalin.
Well, don't get me wrong, I was on Ritalin too.
But like Ritalin
when I was 5,
shut me down. I was like,
you still
well,
take
that's
it?
why my mom pulled me off of it. Was exactly that. I did it from. I did it. I was like in the bathroom with the.
I was doing Ritalin, fucking yeah.
My mom put me on it when I was 5, and then I got off of it 5th or 6th grade, and she pulled me off because I just exactly what you said, because I'm a fairly outgoing, charismatic's not the right word, but just you could say charismatic, just jokey, blah 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 blah. I was always off the wall as a kid, and I would just come home and sit there. And my mom was like, "Man, that's not my son."
Kid's a zombie.
Yeah. And sure, I did well in school because I just you told me to, okay, I'll do that. But like I get parents all the time at the gym, like my kid has, or my kid is, or my kid. And I'm like, and of course, I'm not the parents are doing the best they can. They don't know, I mean, how do you, if you were to have a kid right now? Well, do you have any kids?
I don't know.
So if you were to have a kid right now, would you know how to raise the kid?
No.
You would have these ideas,
yeah,
but like you'd be wrong about
it,
almost all of them because you don't live in a tribe where you've watched hundreds of kids grow up and you don't have any elders guiding you. So every parent, same thing. They're raising a kid blind. And so when a teacher, first of all, will say, well, your kid has ADHD. Well, why? Well, because I'm really fucking boring and they won't listen to me. Oh, yeah, that must be it, right? Like, no. How about this? Just let the kid go run around. Because you're going to tell me and say, I guarantee you, if I put a kid in front of Minecraft, they'll sit there for 37 straight hours without eating.
Which is crazy.
So it has nothing to do with, and people say, well, it means selective attention, but get out of my face. Just stop. How about this? Kids don't need pills. Let's just say that. If a system exists where you feel you need to drug a kid, it's the system that's inherently broken. It's not the kid.
And when you put it that way, people get mad too.
Well, like us, we're sitting here for...
Kids don't need pills.
What's it been, an hour, let's say hour 15, whatever it is. And we're like, okay, well, it's time to go do something else. Well, so then we expect a kid to sit in school all day? Like, come on. Parents can't sit. Give me any parent on the planet who can sit and do, when people who have office jobs, they do about 15 minutes of work and it's okay, back to Facebook, let me go walk around, let me go get some Starbucks, but the kid... Oh, no, the kid's broken. And the kid has infinitely more energy. They're curious about the universe. Everything is chaos. They want to know, what's that? My kid. If he was sitting here, Dad, what's that? Dad, what's that?
Back.
Dad, what's that?
From back.
You'd have fucked him up with
I'd
that.
tell my kid would be like, front, back. I got to get to the bottom of this. You know what I mean? Like, but then we tell that kid something's broken. Like, so that's the reason I actually didn't do graduate work in psychology, because I'm not going to take a kid and then say, hey, something's wrong with you. Because then people take that crutch for the rest of their lives. And you know tons of adults that, well, when I was a kid, I was diagnosed, blah, 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 6 letters. It's like, well, bro, I've talked to you. You're just a person. Like, you're completely normal. Just stop. ADHD, you got no ADHD, bro. You're just a normal person who's sitting here. You're engaging in conversation. You make eye contact. There's not a single thing wrong with you. Nothing.
Yeah, but I think everybody back in the day was very like,
oh, it's worse now.
it's medication, everything. Yeah,
It's worse now.
I don't have a kid,
No,
I agree.
Look at medication rates. They've skyrocketed. And it's because
That's
there are
that money
people who
talking.
control
Yeah.
what comes through these boxes to tell people. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I think they did a study or something. It's like 80% of commercials nowadays is medication. And like the other is like beverage and food.
Oh, really?
Or something like that. Yeah, because like try to watch, I don't have cable, so I don't know exactly what that's like. But like YouTube it's like based off of what you watch. But back in the day, cable, you couldn't control what commercials you receive. So it'd be like Flonase or fucking Viagra or Zendaltra, or whatever it is, and
Cymbalta can help.
It's like, with what?
Side effects, your butthole will explode.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I did it from I was 5 till I was 16 or 17.
Damn.
Yeah, and I feel, and I've looked into this, and there's like answers on the internet to anything you want there to be.
Of course.
I feel like that's why it's hard for me to remember certain things. Like, I don't hold in a lot of information to
You mean the side effects of the medication?
Yeah, because I was on it so young for so long.
Yeah.
Like, for so long, 11 to potentially 12 years.
And you don't have to answer this question, but I would ask myself secondarily, just because of what I see, I would say, how much do I drink? Because drinking has a humongous impact.
I don't drink at all. That's
okay.
That's me.
Yeah, and that's fine. Either I was just curious because I know if I'm drinking, my brain's muddled.
I mean, I probably can't remember because he drinks so much. It's probably a correlation. Like
right.
I got
you're breathing it in.
The relationship hangover kind of thing. Like my dad used to date this lady, and he's an alcoholic. He'd drink all the time, but never be hungover.
Right.
But she'd always be fucking trashed.
Right.
But she didn't drink. But she'd just always have a headache, and she would say that thing like, "Oh, I got his hangover." It was a joke, but it's like,
like
never
maybe
mind,
she had like a medical problem though.
Yeah, that
it was a dumb.
That seems
like a tumor, possibly.
Lady,
what got you into martial arts?
I would be. I remember specifically the day that I was like, I'm going to go to a gym and check it out and potentially sign up. I was moving these big timbers. They're like railroad ties, and they have what you call, I think it's creosote. It's like a chemical on it that will burn your skin.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I was moving them around.
Oscar has those in his backyard.
And I dropped them because it was going to be like a rail or a driveway, and the dude wanted them so nothing came in and out of that part. And I was like, "What am I doing with my life? Like, I have 6 part-time jobs because nowhere is hiring full-time, so I just fill my time with work." And I'm like, I need to have an outlet for something I want to do. What am I interested in? And I was like, I'm 26, I skateboard. I'm clearly not going to be a pro. I've been doing it for like 16 years.
How old are you now?
I'm 33 this year. And I was like, I need to do something because skateboarding's just not paying off. I'm just hurting myself all the time, right? And I watch UFC fights and MMA in general, but I wasn't super aware of jiu-jitsu. Like, I wasn't in the jiu-jitsu landscape of things, and I was like, what would you do if you wanted to start in an MMA? I was like, so I started Googling, and I came across a Groupon for Remedy. And it was like 3 months for the price of like half of 1 month or something. And I got the Groupon. I went to go to Remedy for the first time. I actually hit up somebody else that knew Larry Downs or worked for Larry Downs. And he had an MMA gym off of Gulf Beach Highway. And it was like a fitness, boxing, MMA, or it had like an all-inclusive thing. So they were learning a lot. I skated with 2 kids that went there. They were forced. They didn't want to go. It was Boo and Warren. And their father, Michael Johnson, was like, you're going to be in shape. You're going to be disciplined. Like, this is going to create a man out of you, basically. And they were fine. They probably didn't need that heavy of direction, but whatever. I'm going off on a tangent. But I was like, I hit up Melinda, which is the stepmom to them. And I was like, is Michael, and because he used to work, I'm going everywhere. He would be contracted out to Afghanistan to do plumbing. And he'd be over there for like a year, 2 years at a time, and then he'd come back. And I was like, is he back? I need to get Larry's number because I want to go to Larry's gym. I don't want to just walk in a gym. I want to see what it's about. So I was going to contact Larry. And she's like, I can't get his information. And I was like, okay. And I'm very much of this world. I have no patience. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I just found the Groupon and I went to Remedy. Going to Remedy, and it's one of their wrestling practices. And it was when they are on Avalon, and there's like now a Circle K there, and it was that little strip mall behind, but there was no Circle K there. It was just like them, a plumbing thing, and a tattoo studio, and this like thing, and the mats were like tarps. It wasn't rollout mats now.
It was like the Gracie mats, huh?
I think. Well, it was like white tarp.
Yeah,
stuff.
The Gracies did that in their old gyms. They had just green tarps over like padding.
That's the like where Henner is. That's what they do, and they show you how to make it. You buy the foam itself, lay out all the foam, and then take a vinyl cover or whatever cover for it.
But it's very weird. Like, so I walk in there and they're doing wrestling and nobody greets me. And if you'd ever been in this gym, it was like a very small seating area, like maybe just that couch. And it's like you walk in, shoes everywhere because there's nowhere to put their shoes. So they're just, you're stepping on shoes to get into a seat. And I sit down and I'm just like, I've never been into an MMA gym. So I'm like, maybe a receptionist will come up to me in like the next 10, 15 minutes. Maybe the coach. I don't know. Nobody ever talked to me. So I was like, I saw it was wrestling, but not knowing that that was wrestling. I thought that was jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, this shit looks tough. And these kids look really young. Maybe I got the wrong time. I'll just come back at another time. Tried contacting the school, but they didn't answer. And I just ran into a string of like bad situations with them.
Sure.
Then I went to Alex Silva Ruiz, ASR is what they called it. And he's money hungry. So he was like wanting to sign me up first day.
Does he still exist?
I don't know.
Like the gym? I wasn't sure.
ASR does not exist. Like
Okay.
if he does anything, it's privately.
Okay.
Like because he was running like a private personal fitness thing with like doctors and stuff. So he would do like, I don't know, several $100s an hour or something for an hour.
Sure.
With them, and he had enough clientele that like the gym ended up disbanding and becoming just Remedy. Like all the people basically mass exodus to Remedy.
Right.
But I started there, and the receptionist had a daughter there, and they were all very welcoming, and like all the people helped me out a lot. But they didn't let me in on like the money hungry part of him until like 10 months in, and then everybody left. But that's how I got started, was like I watched these fights and I'm like, man, this shit is interesting. I feel like I could do this. I'm in shape from skateboarding. Not knowing that it's like totally different, or like the shape is not the shape that you need to be in. It's like way different. But I was like, that's my interest. I might as well just try to do that. Like this is my adult skateboarding.
Do you train?
I haven't in it's been probably 8 months now. But I did for a little bit at Kazushi Club. But then when I switched from, I was working in the kitchen for like 6 years, and then when I switched to real estate, you know, trying to get a schedule figured out and like constantly being all over the place, I kind of put that on the back burner to focus on the career a little bit. So, but yeah, when I was at Kazushi Club. So, and it was, you know, he got me into it. So
I've heard good things about that place.
We worked in the mall together, and when we first met, we didn't like each other. I got hired in to be his boss, basically. I was assistant manager. He was just a team member there, and then, of course, there was a boss over us. But
we're called sales associates, by the way.
Whatever. But when we first met, like,
put some respect on his name.
Yeah, dude, what's up, dude?
When we first met, he had highlights, and to me, I was like, fuck
I didn't have
boy.
highlights.
Basically, your hair was blonde.
Can you pull out a picture? Like,
Was
post it
it?
on the Instagram of his highlights.
Okay.
It wasn't.
But you rock like pink polos and shit, and I was like, fuck boy. All right? You
well,
should
maybe
just
I
go
did.
with it anyways.
Maybe I did.
You're wearing tiny purple shorts and you're worried about a pink polo?
No, dude, I don't give a fuck.
Oh,
I'll
okay,
wear it
okay.
all.
But I'm saying, like, we just...
I just don't know if that was a stage of my life. But I just can't, you know?
From looks, we looked way different. Like, he had no tattoos at the time. Obviously, he was...
You gotta have
underage.
tattoos to be friends with Cody.
No. That's not what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
He was not 18 at the time. He was...
So you like
It wasn't
underage
legal.
boys.
I get it.
Yes.
So I was 16, and he was
I
like,
like-
"Come be my friend."
Right.
I was
you
trying
want
to
to move in?
him, and
Yeah,
it worked
yeah,
out. You
right,
see where
sure,
we're at today.
sure.
Yeah, he lives in
Happily
my
married
house
couple.
now, so that's pretty sweet.
He thinks he can get away, but, you know.
Yeah. Well,
The years of training...
So I didn't
says
realize I was
otherwise.
going to get into romance. This is good. This is good how it took a, hey, how'd you get into jiu-jitsu? Hey, let me tell you my story of love.
I've been grooming
original
a boy.
butt stuff. Yeah, we gotta talk about that.
Right? That's why you prefer no-gi.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
But, like, I would always mess with him because I started training when I started at that job. Like, within the first 3 months I started there, I started training. And then, like, I would leave work and go, I'd have to change at work. So I'd be in my no-gi gear, like, carrying my gi out of the building. And they would see that. And then, like, I'd come in and I'd be like, dude, we learned this thing. Like, an arm drag. This
Sure.
is crazy. Watch this. I'm going to pull you towards me. You know?
It's funny how that's the definitive greeting of people who train. You have to arm drag. Handshakes
or
disappear.
overhook, underhook. You're
Right.
like, hey, what are you doing here, dude?
What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first little bit, he was just kind of throwing me around zoomies, so that was
Right.
pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah. But that's how we met. Is initially we hated each other.
Oh, shit,
And
y'all
then,
worked at Zoom.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, bro. That was
Yeah.
like looking at y'all look like guys
Hey,
who work
man.
at Zoom.
What's that mean?
Listen, man.
It's not bad. It's
Fucking-
just
yeah, it happens. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we initially hated each other, and then over shit, I don't even know how long. 2 years. I was there for almost 2 years. And over that time, we just became fucking homies. And I moved out. Whenever I turned 18, I moved out to move in with him, and that kind of solidified our friendship.
Basically, since we met, we've only not lived together for 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's when I was buying this place, is I moved out to buy this place. So it was, yeah.
I just can't quit him.
Right, I was going to say, we need a rainbow flag on the
A Brokeback Mountain poster.
Exactly.
Just like, I just can't quit you.
First thing I'm doing when I get home is photoshopping both of you into that photo.
Dude, I would love that.
That would be
We would get that printed out and framed for this.
100%.
Put it right there.
Yeah,
Put it right
absolutely.
behind
Well,
us.
Let's get
Now I know it's happening.
We are
Yeah.
not too proud.
Which one of you is Jake? Which one's Heath, though?
Dude, you know what? Heath is my boy.
All right, well, he's very excited about that.
But
So
the problem is, I'm more Jake color,
Huh?
and you're more Heath color scheme wise. Like your hair is naturally blonder. It was at the time of us being introduced.
Back when the highlights were
Hold
there.
on, who would be the
Yeah.
blonde dude?
I feel like
though?
this is a casting couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we didn't tell you that's what this was.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're bouncing that back to you. Who's
Right.
Heath? Who's Jake?
With us two?
No, with us.
Oh,
Like,
with
if
you
y'all
two?
had to frame us in the casting. Couch or
Your
whatever.
head's wider, so I'd probably do you, Heath.
Thank you, boy.
Your head's
It'd
way.
be easier to. It'd just be easier to shop.
I just be behind you and be like, why is those here?
Oh man.
Yeah,
Jesus
dude.
Christ.
Good,
Right
good,
now we
good.
know what's
I'm
coming
glad-
out of it.
Well,
glad
you-
we got into this.
You said you started because you watched the UFC fights. Did you ever fight? Did you
No,
ever get
I
into
never
MMA?
fought,
Just
but
jiu-jitsu?
the first year at ASR, that is kind of what like locked me into ASR was you could do the program and do as many classes no matter what the classes were at the same time, but his rate was the same.
Yeah.
Like 150, you do all classes or you do one class.
Huh.
So I was like, well, if I'm paying that much, I'm
Get my money's
driving
worth.
like
Yeah.
35, 45 minutes from the mall to your studio. I'm going to do everything I can in that day, every single day I go. So it would start off striking at, I think it was 6 o'clock. And then
Who was your striking coach?
Him.
Mm.
Who was the jiu-jitsu guy? Him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we did have, man, I'm forgetting his name. That's what I'm saying. I'm terrible with the memory. But the judo guy, God, I hate that I have a shit memory. I trained with him forever.
Is he still around?
Yes. Fuck. He's like a judo junior Olympic champion. But I can't remember his fucking name, dude. That's terrible because I see him, I can imagine his face too. But he would do the no-gi class sometimes because he would show us like judo throws, and then all he wanted to do was roll. So he'd do like, yo, coach is here for like 10 minutes. I'm going to show you some throws. As soon as he leaves, we're throwing this mat off and we're just all going to roll. And he was like really into no-gi, so there's no gis at all on his nights. But it would be like 2.5, 3 hour nights every time I was there. But the first hour and a half was striking. The last hour was like judo or...
Are you any good at striking?
I mean, arguably no. I would argue, and y'all would say no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think at the time I was getting okay. I don't think, like, I'm going to be doing any amateur fighting, whooping someone's ass. Unless we're in Walmart or Circle K. You know what
I don't
I'm
know.
saying?
Maybe Walmart or Circle K. That's where the tough ones go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
They
especially
hang
the
out there.
beach,
You got to be careful.
you're getting, like, a mixed bag.
That's true. The beach
But
is
like,
tough.
we went and trained with RJ Summerlin the other day, like, or the other month, and I'm like muscle memory. I have
He's a welterweight.
He is.
Pro.
Is he welterweight now? I thought he was a lightweight.
right this second. He
looked
welterweight.
huge.
Yeah, he's big right now.
He used
But
to be
he's
giant.
losing weight.
Though.
Yeah,
he used
for
to be
sure.
like. I remember when he fought Don Buck, or did he fight Billy Good? Him and Billy Good fought at like heavyweight
so.
years ago.
Oh, really?
Because I fought on that card. I was a lightweight at the time. Him and Billy fought at heavyweight. So
Also-
RJ's lost a bunch of weight.
Shout out his podcast in the Neutral Corner. He just started a podcast like
Who, RJ?
like 2 weeks ago or something.
He's
like
got good hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a really
fucking-
good coach. Like, we were over in his, like, I guess it's Larry, one of Larry's gyms. I don't know how many he has, but it's on their property of their company. And me and him are both doing the drills that he's teaching. And I'm like stuck in my old muscle memory of what I was being taught. And he's like, that's not how it is. He's picking it up faster than me. And I'm like, I wonder if it's because of what I learned before.
Yeah.
Or he is just naturally picking it up.
What were the roots of your, sorry to interrupt you, what were the roots of your striking?
Muay Thai is what
Muay
he was
Thai.
teaching.
Okay.
Like, I don't know anything from anything. He
Sure.
could have been like, this
Sure.
is boxing. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I see
But you're
what
kicking me, so what is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, people use that term Muay Thai very, very loosely,
Yeah, that's
especially
what
here
I'm
in the
saying.
States.
But
That's I just call it striking.
it's also very rumored. Like, while I was there, we found out towards... This was probably like month 9, the beginning of month 9, and we maybe left end of month 10. That his black belt wasn't legit, but... I mean, I'm at white belt rolling with him. He feels like the blackest of all belts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this motherfucker knows that he created it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it felt. And also, when you sparred him, like, he'd be like, hey, do you know what your nose feels like? Because, damn, that's what it feels like. Like, I mean, everything
It's hard to
he
tell
did
when you
was
don't
way
know
better.
when you don't know
exactly.
anything. You can't
yeah.
differentiate.
Yeah.
It's like,
You
all
know.
I know is, like, he's way better than me, so I believe everything he says.
Yeah,
Also,
sure.
I'm paying him, so, like, say good things about me.
Yeah.
Like, also, one of my least favorite things, and you can tell that, like, maybe your technique is absolute trash, is if you're rolling with somebody, and when you're done rolling, they're like, man, you're strong.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. What else am I? Because I wasn't stronger than you in the roll, so if you're saying I'm strong,
Yeah.
you gotta give me more than that.
Right.
But once we, like, transitioned to Remedy, there wasn't exactly a striking class. Like, they did have pro fighters, but it was more like the fighters sparring with each other on their own time and watching each other.
Yeah.
Like, they
Well,
were,
that's a lot of gyms though. That's fairly common. It's hard to find gyms that have a variety of coaches.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's lack of just finding
I
somebody.
mean, how do you find these people?
I mean, I think that's what it was, like, with Trey and Remedy. Like, everything he does, he's doing to the best of his ability. So it's never like he's not wanting people to
Well,
be
he
good.
works a lot though too.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I talked to him the other day on the phone, and like, I mean, he works all the time. He's only at the gym twice a week. It's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard
That's
to do
tough.
anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's
Working that
different
much.
than other gyms when I feel like I've been at where I'm like, these people just don't care. They just are trying to get a check. Where I feel like Trey is like trying to push the sport forward.
Oh yeah, Trey's great. I
Yeah.
love Trey.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to push it forward with what he has. Like, everything he has, I feel like he reinvests into making everything better.
Yeah.
That you can easily see that by looking at the progression of the actual gyms themselves.
Well, the martial, you know, I have gym owners I like. I have gym owners I don't like, obviously. And it really depends on what you're doing for your community and what you're doing for the sport, you know. And you take somebody like Trey, he's doing a lot.
Yeah.
He's a very solid dude. You know, because it takes. So he just did some super fights over there in Crestview, and it takes months and hours and hours and hours because this guy needs this guy and maybe he makes a couple $1,000s, you know, and it's like, bro, that's a lot of work for a couple of bucks. You know what I mean? Now he's trying to grow it, and hopefully eventually it makes him a lot of money. And I don't know how much he made. He may have made nothing. He may have lost. You know, I mean, I was there. Audience seemed okay. You know, jiu-jitsu's fucking boring to start with. You know, just to watch it, unless it's your person. If it's your person, well, then you're very
Or
excited.
it's your sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah. Well, even then, like,
super niche group.
like,
Like, I love watching jiu-jitsu. I can watch
you?
it all day long.
Yeah.
I love it.
yeah, you and
It's
three
like
other
golf,
guys.
though. Like, you have a million fucking people that love golf. I hate golf. He
Yeah.
loves golf.
Well,
He's good at golf.
Gordon's doing good at, you know, like flow grappling's getting big.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff's
yeah.
getting big. You need stories. That's what people don't understand. You know, you talked about the GOAT of MMA. You know, you messaged me and said something about it. And it depends on what your parameters are for GOAT. What does that mean? Because people say, who's the GOAT? Well, Conor McGregor, out of the top 10 UFC pay-per-views ever,
He
he
has
has
7 of them?
He has 1 through 6. He doesn't have 7, I think was, I don't remember, 8 was UFC 100, and then he has 9, 10. So he has 8 of the 10.
Yeah.
So,
And arguably, probably 100 and 200 are on there, on that list. And that's just because those are the biggest.
well, 100 was on there, and I can't remember what number 7 was. 7 was, yeah, 7. I can't remember what number 7 was. But to have the GOAT argument, what makes somebody the GOAT? What are we talking about? Are we saying best fighter? Well, Demetrius Johnson. Or would you say that John Jones is a more skilled fighter
Or is it who they're beating, or is it their technique?
There's
There
so
could be-
many.
Or
variables.
well, hold on.
different goats
What's
for
the
10
goal of
different
what's the goal of
parameters. Yeah.
professional fighting? Well, what's the goal with your job at work? You're making money. So who's the goat, right? But that's what I'm saying. That's the goal.
Pepsi's the goat.
Right?
They're making
Right?
a lot of money.
But your job as a professional fighter is to make money. Well, Connor's winning by miles. And you'd say, yeah, but so-and-so's a better fighter. So-and-so's a better... Okay, I'm sure Connor's very upset about that on his yacht.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
if the game is
Lamborghini
I'm a professional
yacht.
fighter and I'm a professional, which means you pay me money. Well, I'm winning. You know? And there's a lot of people, like you take people that talk about John Jones. Well, there's a lot of people making a lot more money. So the GOAT, what does that mean?
What are your parameters for GOAT?
I probably don't have one. I understand why people would say John Jones. Well, he beats everybody up and he's untouchable at the moment he appears. Gustafsson was his best fight, you know, and gave him a real run for his money. I don't know because I'm very, as a coach and coaching kids and coaching people, I'm always focused on like the ethical parameters surrounding a human. So you take somebody like Stephen Thompson. I would trust him to be in my gym, to coach kids. John Jones, stay away from my gym.
Yeah,
I don't need you running pregnant women over. I don't need you beating up your old lady.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have been together since high school. You got all these kids. You're not married, like, and you're beating her up in a hotel and all that. Like, okay, well, I can't respect you. Sure, you're a great fighter, but like, so that means that what you are to me is, I don't know, you're an entertainment object. You have no other human worth. Does that? And I'm not saying he has no human worth, but I'm saying like, then I would have to separate every piece of you and see you as just that, which I have a lot of trouble. It's like you guys we talked about this the other day. You have a band you like, and then the lead singer is on some show and they say something, and you're like, you know, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, yes, 6-year-olds should be able to have hormones and get breast implants or whatever it is, and you're like, and then you look at your CDs or one of those, you know, a long time ago. You look you look at your mixtapes, your vinyl, and you're like, I got to throw this away. You know, that kind of thing. So it's the same with fighters. Like if a fighter is an idiot. Well, that's why Tyron Woodley, like people didn't, because you listen to him talk and you're like, man, this isn't fun to listen to. Yeah. Whereas McGregor, you're like, bro, this is hilarious. Everybody or Wonder Boy is just a super nice guy and very, you're like, oh, I like this. So I have a lot of trouble separating the person from the art, whatever that art is, musician, fighter, coach. No, I mean, anything. Like I said, you could have a guy who's a great jiu-jitsu coach and he's a scumbag. And I'm like, I just don't like him. Yeah. You know, you can't be the GOAT.
It's difficult.
You know, I don't see any scandals about John Danaher. You know? So it's like, okay, good, please. And just
please behave.
Yes.
John,
stay in your lane so I can enjoy you as a human. Yeah. You know?
See, I think that, like, if we're just going to talk UFC heavyweight right now, I mean, I just ruined that. Not right now, but, like, I think DC or Stipe is the GOAT for those reasons, like you just laid out. Like, DC, I feel like you could leave your baby with. That's
DC's
1 month
awesome.
old.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a killer time with that baby.
Yeah.
And he can fight his fucking ass off.
Sure.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Like
in
Stipe,
multiple divisions, out of shape.
Speaks like the baby. They both can't understand each other.
Yikes. All right.
But they're both good people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that one cut a little deep.
Okay.
Do you have arguments for a GOAT, MMA GOAT currently? Of course, it's constantly shifting.
Nah, man, there's too many variables because there's stuff like that, like Ngannou beat all the other heavyweights, you know. But like Ngannou just has a natural gift, right? Is he a good martial artist?
Yeah, but so does John Jones. Every one of his family, they're all professional athletes.
Well, you look at like
true.
I don't like watching guys like Ngannou fight much because it's not. I can't repeat that, right? I can't just be like, oh, that's who I'm going to be. No, I'm not. Look at me, right? I wasn't born over there. I'm not the world's biggest guy ever. You know what I mean?
I think
the scariest.
I think this is a better question. If you could be one UFC fighter that's ever existed or currently exists, who would you be?
If I could be, that's different than
do I have
GOAT, too. Who am I going to have the most fun as, bro?
Do I have to take the entirety of their life or just take their skill set?
Career set.
Just take their career with McGregor because then I have all the money. Does that make
Lambo
sense?
yacht,
now
dude.
let's take money out of it, and that's a whole. Let's have a different discussion. Take money out of it. Well, then we're talking guys like BJ Penn, who's like, bro, I'll weigh 200 pounds and fight Lyoto Machida in Japan.
Yeah, he was a.
You know what I mean?
I think if
I'll fight welterweight, I'll fight lightweight, I'll fight what. Like he didn't care. So does that make sense? Like that's a neat story. To tell.
See, I think if I'm going,
Genki Sudo is actually my number one. I don't know if you've heard of him. There's a good West Side Grappling Tournament highlight of him. Genki Sudo is amazing. You just look him up as a human. He's Olympic wrestling coach, I believe, in Japan. But he was an MMA fighter, and he would fight anybody, any rules. He just didn't care. He'd fight a Taekwondo guy, Taekwondo rule sets, get Muay Thai, whatever. Sure, I'll do it. And he was always super friendly, super humble. He had you've seen pictures, I guarantee you, of a Jap dude holding up a flag that says "We Are One." That's him. You've probably seen it at some point. On the
Pride.
internet. Yeah, well, he fought a bunch of different, but I would say he's my favorite fighter of all time. Genki Sudo. If you ever get bored, look him up. He's so good.
I feel like
He lost to Dwayne Ludwig by bullshit.
Really?
Yeah, Dwayne, you hear me? No, you don't hear me because you're not listening to this. But that was back when, because Genki was bloodying his face all up and Dwayne was all fucked up. The ref stopped it to give him time to clean up and this, that, and the other. And Bang knew, I'm done. So he came back and just went crazy and ended up winning a decision. It was the biggest horse shit I've ever seen in my life. Genki Sudo, there's Dwayne. If you ever look that up, it was like, no, you stop the fight, bro. Fight's over. You don't get to come back.
Yeah.
Because Genki was murdering him. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I think like you would go for, like for me, I would go for how I'm perceived from the MMA community, and I would be like, who's better perceived than Frankie Edgar?
No, I hated it.
For, like,
I hated Frankie Edgar.
Really?
Really?
Well, because I was a huge BJ Penn fan at the time. And Frankie.
Hey, that hurt.
Yeah, bro.
That hurt.
Well, I remember going to the bar and watching it and be like, because he destroyed my boy. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
It's hard too, though. Like we were talking about people
Frankie,
getting out
that's
at the right
interesting.
time. Frankie did not get out at the right time, and it's hard to watch somebody you
It's
respect.
hard to make the
like-
transition to the master.
yeah,
It's hard.
because you
It's
want to
hard
be
to-
like, man, just back out, bro.
Who did it better than GSP? Like he left when it was getting like, whoa, these motherfuckers are catching.
Right.
me.
Yeah, dude.
And then he was like, but I still got something for somebody, and he came back and won a belt.
He came back when Bisping got the belt. That was
Yeah,
on purpose. He's like, I could beat that motherfucker.
He goes, that floating eye guy? Like, I is just like floating around.
It's like,
See,
oh, I
that-
got that, dude.
That's smart, though.
Yeah,
that's
he
smart.
made his money.
He's he didn't seem to take a lot of damage. He's still in super good shape.
And people
Jesus, yeah,
think
he
he's the GOAT for that reason.
I would
and I'm
say-
like, who had a better exit?
If I had to,
Maybe Henry
put
Cejudo, if
somebody-
he never comes back, he had a better exit. Because he won 2 belts.
Something
Two
tells
different
me
weight
he's coming
classes,
back,
and he
though.
was like,
I thought he had 3
Something tells
belts.
me
He's got a
he's coming
fight
back,
with
though.
what's his name?
Aljamain
Sterling. Yeah.
But did that just get announced today or what?
I thought I just saw something
Because
last night.
Sugar just put out May 6th, couldn't come soon enough. Like, he's going to fight him.
Yeah,
I think he's
I
the
thought it was-
backup, right?
Man, what a good gig. I mean, that sucks is if, like, they want to set up a fight really short term after that. Like, yo, maybe Henry starches Aljamain, and then he's like, yo, Sugar, you next. And you just did a weight cut to that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yo, 1 month from now. And he's like, yeah, but I'm recovering from...
Yeah,
if you're not
still.
close to that weight,
And he cuts a lot of weight too.
yeah.
Who? Sugar?
The Sugar does. He's
How
he's
big is he?
He's like 6'1" at one.
I think he just had an
135 or
interaction,
whatever.
and it was like a short on YouTube where he was like, he ran in with Aljamain, and
Yeah, he
Aljamain
doesn't
asked
get
him
as
his
big
weight,
as
and he's like
him.
167.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit.
What's he fight at?
135?
That's a.
Holy-
Like, if you're
That's a
talking
big
about
gap.
May 6th being, what is that? 1 March, April, May?
It's about 65 days away, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sterling
2
gets
months.
up to like 200 sometimes.
Yeah, that's
He gets
What?
humongous.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's like known to like get giant.
Well, Steve's like, well, he's 185 right now, but he was up at 200. He used to fight at 45.
I mean, who did it worse than Gleason Tebow would cut like 60-something pounds
Jesus Christ.
per fight.
Yeah.
He's one of the record holders for like the most. I think he cut like 67
that's
once.
a lot of weight.
That's
May
that's
6th, yeah.
Isn't he the one that Carlos Condit pushed his nose into his fucking brain? Do you remember that? I think so. Gleason Tebow and Carlos Condit fought. He elbowed him and they stopped it because his nose was just up here.
That's wild. I remember Mike Perry's nose was a
Bro, that was gnarly.
him and Rich Franklin when Rich Franklin fought Anderson Silva. His nose was like
I remember that. I remember when
I was like,
Anderson
it's
fought.
underneath his left eye.
I remember when Anderson fought Lieben at the time. This is a long time ago.
Chris.
Well, we
Lee.
thought like, oh, Lieben's really tough, man. And
Yeah,
this
yeah,
guy
it's gonna
shouldn't
be
be taking that fight first. That's not a good first fight. And of course, he murdered him.
Yeah,
and
murked
then he
him.
fought Rich Franklin. I'm like, man, Rich Franklin's the champ. He's gonna get it done. Nope. and
then
Rich
you-
Rich was great. You know.
And you're like, the rematch, he'll get him.
Yep.
I know, dude. That Kai Clinch came right
Yeah.
back. He was like, check this out. I do it again.
See, I was Anderson as a GOAT argument. I don't know that he's the GOAT, but he was amazing. We could say that. You know, GSP was amazing. I like I said, BJ Penn. That was an era when it was more chaotic. You know, you could just
Yeah.
fight all different weight classes. I mean, he had the welterweight belt. He had like that back when that wasn't like a business decision. You know, like
He was just doing it because he was like, I'll
fight that guy.
I'll do it.
And then
He
I'll
had
fight him
money.
again.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever. Yeah, I'll fight GSP. Like
Yeah.
there's just that mindset, which there's a lot of downsides to that mindset because he took a lot of damage, and you know it's not intelligent. Just like with him, we're not going to take just every fight that's offered. It depends the timing. You know, the timing's important because you know you're trying to climb a ladder, and how do you climb that ladder? Well, that's you know you can't just take just like Gordon. Gordon can't just take all comers because people are just like, yeah, I'll fight him. I'll fight him. I'll fight like for
Waste
what? You
your
know,
time, yeah.
you have to pick and choose. And but back then. You know, even Liddell would just, I'll fight whoever. And, you know, he still looked like he could be your dad, just fighting in a bar, the way he punched, the way he did everything.
Coked out every time.
Yeah, and he was just murking people. You know, that was a fun era of MMA. I'm into it way less now than I was.
It's hard, too, though, because it's evolved so much, right? Like, you take the champs back then, and, like, I don't even think most of them would be top 10 guys nowadays.
Oh, no, not even close.
Absolutely.
Not
You know
even
what I'm
close.
saying? Like,
Not even close.
I don't know that they would make it.
I mean, yeah, really. I mean,
Like, depending on the weight class,
there's a
your
few
top
of them.
30.
Well, look at black belts from 20 years
world
ago in
class.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If they were to compete now against like purple belts, they'd be getting murked. Not because, but because they paved the way. The same way with computer programmers, with like anything, like gamers, like everything evolves because you learn from the previous generation. So MMA now is, I mean, what's it going to be in 20 years?
Well, I think I think it's going to eventually start to slow down. Like, you look at football, like, football now versus football, like, when I was a kid probably isn't super different. Eventually you hit that point. But MMA is just so young that it's just been exploding. I think eventually, probably soonish, it's going to slow. I mean, I can't see how much crazier it's going to get other than I think we're going to start seeing more naturally gifted athletes start to move over,
I
like
think the
NFL
reason-
playing people.
I think the reason why MMA is changing so much is because it's starting younger.
Sure.
Like
Well, I think
football, it's
too.
like football's been around for 100 years or more, whatever it is. And it's like people are starting as early as possible.
Sure.
But they have been for a long
Forever.
time.
Well, I
But
think
MMA is
it's
just now
cultural.
where
We're going to see the
kids-
chaining. Chaining is what's going to change. People are going to go from striking to grappling to submitting to the. It's just going to be like we're, you know, right now you see people are still, even now, segmented. I'm in wrestling mode. Now I'm in striking mode. Now I'm in jiu-jitsu mode. Whereas, you know, then it's just going to be submissions coming out of weird places, punches coming out of weird places.
Yeah, MMA is
because
becoming
it's just
its
going to flow.
own martial art. I mean, it
Oh,
really
100%.
is.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
Khabib said that. He had said in an interview, they were asking him about like Olympic style wrestling and what was the other shit that he did? The fucking Sambo style wrestling. He said he thinks MMA wrestling should be its own sport because it is so wildly different. You see so many college wrestlers get into MMA and then they'll get out wrestled by somebody who didn't, like George St. Pierre. He didn't even wrestle in high school, but he was murking all these other dudes because it's an entirely different
Fitch,
sport.
yeah.
The timing,
Cross-check,
the fence, all of it. Yeah.
That was a problem. We're going to start to wrap this. Is there anything you guys want to plug, like dates maybe, or like gym location,
I mean, we're in Crestview. I don't.
Instagram?
Atlas Martial Arts Crestview, the coach Matt, Clay Witt. I mean, all that nonsense. Clay will probably fight end of April, just depending. You know, it's just deciding where, when. We got to talk to this cut coach. We have an appointment next Wednesday. Coleman and all those guys should be fighting island fights. Hopefully Coleman, Elijah, Logan Cadenhead. We got a big Rob. Matt Hefner. I don't know if you guys saw him at the last island fights, a little kickboxing match, 16-year-old kid.
It's a stud.
Just wait a couple more years and he's going to be hurting people's feelings. He's a tiny little guy, 130 pounds, but and it's like it's weird because he's so nice. But yeah, Matt is going to be a beast. Coleman, like I said, he looks. And the other guys, I don't want to. You know, they're gonna do their work, and then I'll talk about them. But yeah, end of April, island fights. You know, those guys put on a good show. You guys usually head over there, don't you? Or sometimes you go over there because it's right here.
Yeah.
Like, we'll typically set up the ring with RJ.
Yeah.
Or break it down. with
Yeah.
RJ.
Well, we'll see you there then. Hopefully, if we can get fights for all of our guys.
Well, tag us in that whenever y'all do announce a fight, and we'll throw it on ours as well.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, we're going to shout out some sponsors. If you are not in Crestview or Pensacola and you find yourself in Foley, Alabama, Panacea Martial Arts with Tony Rayborn, they actually just announced that they're going to have a Mason Fowler seminar in August.
I saw that.
Yeah, so that's going to be dope. If you want to check out the gym for the first time, that's a long time away, so like maybe trot your ass out there a little earlier than that.
Yeah,
and
you
check it out.
can go before August. That's
I
fine.
mean, they're open right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're doing big things, but it is a family gym, so you can go there with your entire family, youngins, oldins,
All of them.
middens, all of them.
Middens.
You know, they have a beautiful kids class. They take care of their kids. They do activities. It helps you better understand who you are as a person as you're growing up and implementing discipline. On the Wednesdays, they have Rich
Shmulesky.
See, I did this alone with Tiff, and I was like, it was a sloppy mess up.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Shmulesky?
He owns a lifestyle experiment. So we have the belt right there.
Yeah.
We rock their no-gi gear sometimes, but he has no-gi.
Oh, he owns a brand?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
He has no-gi rash guards, shorts. He's starting to come out with gis, belts.
That's cool.
They also sell T-shirts.
Yeah.
But he runs the no-gi beginner class on Wednesday, and then the no-gi advanced class on Wednesday as well. But if you find yourself at that gym, you can check out both of those brands. So the gym itself and Rich and his brand, and get some gear from him. If you want to get his gear and you're not going out there, it's at alefl.com. He's got all the newest drops on there. You can message him online on Instagram at a lifestyle experiment, or check out Panacea Martial Arts on Instagram as well. Check out their schedule, see what works for you, and just go out there and try it out.
Yeah, check it out. And then if you're not over in Foley, Alabama, and you're over here in Pensacola and looking for a gym, Kazushi Club Pensacola, run by Derek Overby. Got a bunch of killers in that room. Him and his little brother Casey Overby run Little Guy Jits on Instagram, if you've seen any of those clips. They make a lot of stuff for smaller jiu-jitsu guys to use against larger opponents. And like we talked about earlier...
Like knives.
Yeah, knives, yeah. But like we talked about earlier with them being, with Derek being a little bit of a smaller dude, the technique over there is absolutely insane. And all those dudes in that room are killers, but great fucking people. The atmosphere in that room is great. So if you guys are looking to check something out, definitely check Kazushi Club out. You get the first week free classes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, and then night classes Monday through Thursday. And open mats on Saturdays. So yeah, definitely go check them out. And then also, if you're in town and looking for a spot to get some sweet new Yatus, Sacred Grounds. Yeah.
Johnny Mumbles tattooed me and my sister. I think it was last Saturday now, or something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, Sacred Grounds in Pensacola. Again, a bunch of insanely talented artists over there. So if you're looking for something or looking for somebody to get some work done, Johnny Mumbles down there or any of those people down at Sacred Grounds.
They commission artwork too if you're trying to get anything done for maybe a studio, restaurant, your house. You want to get a present for somebody. They do all sorts of work.
Yeah, hell yeah. So that's about it.
Yeah,
but
we can't thank you guys enough for coming in.
Thank you for having us, man.
We appreciate it. It was a good time fucking off for a little bit. So hell yeah. All right, well, we're gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We're getting the fuck up out of here. We love you. Yee yee.